Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, place about games, friends getting better, and apologizing for your voice. My name is Ben Hanson. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello, I was adjusting my light. You shouldn't have done me first.
And I'm joined by Leo Vader.
Hi, I was worried you'd be able to rest up today, so I'm glad we're doing this at 8 a.m. instead.
Joined by Jacob Keller.
Hello, thank you for doing me third.
Yeah, absolutely. My specialty. On this very episode of the MinnMax Show podcast, we're going to be talking about Jusant, the climbing game from Don't Nod, Do Play. We're going to be talking about, I'm very excited about this, WarioWare Move It. Going to be talking about the finals. Going to be talking about Alan Wake 2, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, the Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. Oh my God, too much good stuff in one show. Silent Hill Ascension. And then back half of the show, we have some great community questions. We have some homework before we get to all that fun stuff, though. We need to dive in, pencils out, everybody, because we got to go through some stuff. First of all, thank you for being here. We appreciate all of your support, however you give it. Second of all,
can you slow down? I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So thank you. Just kind of rambling, general thank you, Patreon lifestyle, thank you type thing.
Seems like he means it, but I don't know.
But he's also said it a lot. How many times can you thank a community for supporting you? It feels hollow at a certain point, even though you try. Hey, as a token of the thank you to everybody who supported MinnMax on Patreon in the last week and unlocked that code for Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals on Steam. Be sure to check your DMs on Patreon to get that code. And shout out to Night School Studios for sending 200 codes for us to give away to the Patreon supporters. It's super sweet. So definitely show some love to that game. Biggest thing we can talk about right now, Star Ocean 2, the remake. And look, I want to tell you genuinely, there's a lot going on in my life at the moment. And I was thinking the other day, like, what do I want to do gaming-wise? What would be like the best thing to do right now? I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to just sit back and play Star Ocean 2's remake and then talk about it on the podcast with Kelsey Lewin. That is my dream. That would be heaven on earth. And so that's coming up next week, just so y'all know. So get started on your Star Ocean 2 remake, everybody, because I really want to unpack that thing in a fun way.
So you have started it. You've been playing it?
No, I have it, but I haven't started Oceaned it yet. Also, biggest thing is we did the deepest dive on Alan Wake 2 earlier this week. You can check it out in our bonus podcast feed or on YouTube. It is a very thorough and very fun discussion about the first 6 hours of that game or so. Basically, we stopped when you switch back to Saga for the first time. That was one of my favorite first episodes of the deepest dive, Leo. I thought that was super fun.
I was thinking the same thing. One of my favorites I've been on. It was a blast. And a blast because we had so much to talk about. Like a lot of laughs, but a lot of like picking apart of the minute things that make that series so special.
Absolutely. Here's the thing, though. Doing that deepest dive when I was already sick put my voice in the dark place. I recorded it on Monday. It's now Thursday. I have not spoken the last 2 days, and this is still what's happening with my voice. It's not a lake, Kyle. It's an ocean of phlegm. So it leads me to my next point.
From the DLC.
Which is this weekend was supposed to be, and Kyle, I know we should have talked to you about this before we went live, but this weekend was supposed to be our Give to the Max marathon charity stream. Boy, we've tried to make it work. I've tried not talking the last 2 days, hoping it's going to be doable. Talking for 25 hours with this voice ain't going to happen. It's
bad idea.
Yeah, my voice would be gone by hour 4 if we were lucky, and that's just 21 hours to go. So here's the thing. We are definitely doing the Give to the Max charity stream, raising money for Connections to Independence, helping out foster kids in Minneapolis. It's very tricky to schedule this. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving people. And so it's like, okay, who's going to be around for the longest? What day could we make this happen? So we are punting, I think is the best way to put it. We're punting the Give to the Max charity stream from this weekend, no longer happening November 4th. We're punting it to December 2nd. I understand that is a big punt. That is more of, it's a win out the back of the end zone level punt. But that's what we need to do to have the best stream. And so thank you everybody for being patient. We'll rebuild that schedule over on Patreon for everybody. So we have all the same charity auctions, Spider-Man 2 PS5, a ton of fun charity auctions. a date with Clive Rosfield from Final Fantasy 16. There's a bunch of fun. Yes. There's a bunch of fun auctions for charity that'll be happening, but it's happening December 2nd when we can all rest and really savor the thrill of being in the MinnMax studio together instead of doing some miming thing where it's, I'm silent the entire stream. It'd just be a disaster.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, everybody.
Don't get sick again. It's that easy.
Won't get sick again.
One of the best things to help you not get sick is having an infant, I learned.
Is that right?
Yeah. They're not little petri dishes that just collect germs.
Well, it seems to be the opposite because no one else in my family is getting sick. And so it's really bizarre of like, what's wrong with me? What's happening to my body?
I mean, I think it's really bold of you to just like jump in front of every illness that could be coming for your, loved ones.
That's right. Coming after me, you gotta go through me first. Never mind. Hey,
He's sick, everybody.
Yeah, come on. Comedy forgiveness today. Hey, Kyle?
Yes, Ben.
You want to do me a favor?
Sure.
You want to host this podcast?
Yeah. Well, this is a little experimental, right? But like, I'll sort of take over hosting duties to help your voice rest, and we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah. Oh, this would be great.
Yeah,
Do you want to just clap in so you can be in the host seat?
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Welcome back to that nothing. We didn't have a break, but I'm taking over hosting duties. Oh boy, this is going so well already.
Hey, can we clap back?
I'm also sick. Can Leo just take it over now?
Leo, all right, Leo, you're host. Ready?
No, we don't.
I've never hosted before.
No, we can move forward. I will host properly. We do not need to swap Leo in. Though I will, if my voice suddenly disappears, you're next, Leo. Get ready, and then Jake will be in the queue. The first thing I think we want to talk about is Jusant. Has everyone been playing Jusant?
Yes, I have, Kyle.
Yes,
Ben.
Yes.
Okay.
I started playing like properly last night. I ended up playing like 3 or 4 hours, and
I think that would put you at the end.
Yeah, you get a new game plus for
just like 4 hours long.
Is it okay? Because I'm on like, I don't know, is it chapters like chapter 4 or something like that?
There's 6,
I don't know how close I am to the end.
There's 6 chapters.
6 chapters. Yeah,
6 chapters. Okay, so yeah,
and it's deceptive because the mechanics are so strong. It feels like it could carry itself for longer than it chooses to.
Yeah,
something about it too, the way it looks. Maybe this is a weird thing to say, but just the fact that like the mountain is so large, I was like, oh, this is going to take a long time to get up there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe every other game, it's like God of War also had that goal of like just get to the top of the mountain, and that took like 25 hours to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Jake, it's a climbing game.
What was that, Leo?
It's a climbing game.
It is.
That wasn't clear to people, and it's playing this. I was like, damn it, we didn't need another game to be good right now. But I have to report that Jusant is really good.
Yeah, I was surprised that we sent it out. Like it looked cool the last time we saw it in a showcase. Like, oh, this seems like a cool game from Don't Nod, the creators of Life is Strange, And then I just sent it like, hey, does everybody want a code for Jusant? And Jacob and Leo both jumped on it so fast. I'm like, this is interesting. And then both of you were like, we're really excited to talk about it. So it's like, it's fun to get like the peek behind the curtain of like, wait, this game's that good? And then diving in, it was like, yeah, Jusant rules. Okay, I'm so happy it turned out this well.
They sent code out a while ago, which was nice. And my first like, oh, this is good, is like I had this and Mario Wonder at the same time, and I like kept going back to Jusant. Like it was taking precedence over Mario Wonder for me. And it's boy, is it like it. I have been telling people that it feels like there have been a lot of games that are like, hey, here's another journey. And for me, this is kind of like, this is the one where I feel like it's not just like another game where you do pretty things, but like kind of feels mechanically satisfying in its own right while still kind of having the spirit of what Journey felt like it was doing 12 years ago or however long it came out.
I mean, I was excited to talk to you about it, Jacob, because there is a tone to it that feels Team Ico-esque.
Oh yeah,
just something about it.
I've called it like Eco meets Death Stranding is kind of the vibes, because it's like it is so like kind of painterly and artistic, and the main character doesn't talk at all really. but then there is this like deliberateness of movement that is very Death Stranding, where it's just like you are going to think about every single place that your hand is. You know, like in the same way that Death Stranding is like every step is kind of interesting because it's uneven. This is like my hands matter more than they ever have in like Uncharted or any other climbing game.
Yeah, and that's interesting because it is specific. It is right trigger, right hand, left trigger, left hand, and putting pythons in the wall at your own discretion that you then can like hang from, dangle down, and then swing left to right or whatever. But it is also very forgiving. You can kind of hammer on those triggers and fly up a wall, so it still feels really tight that way. And it's also forgiving in the way that you have this rope holding you up. There was one moment where I tried to jump from a rock to a platform, way overshot the platform, wasn't near the wall at all anymore, thought I was going to see what death in this game was like. But I just went over the platform and fell, and the rope, went over the platform, and I hung from the platform like that.
Yeah.
And that was when I like learned how good the rope physics are.
Yeah.
And then you just climb back up from there.
Yeah, it's like having a little piton thing. It's an automatic checkpoint for your climbing abilities. And it is wild that when climbing has become the default good things that AAA games do, like, all right, even your Gollum game, you got to have some Uncharted climbing in there, I guess,
the good thing that AAA games do, like Gollum.
No, but I'm saying, like, I think that was the Gollum design idea. It's like, all right, well, you got to have climbing. Every good game is climbing. Yeah. I don't know. Sony seems to like climbing a lot. And this, like, to take something that has become so widespread in the industry, even like, this year, Horizon called a mountain in VR. It's like, well, you think climbing. Wait till you've tried Sony climbing in VR. And even that was like, it's okay. And then to lean into it this hard and just like, make it a little more realistic and actually make it engaging, I think is such a fun design challenge, but they completely pulled it off to make you think and care about climbing in games once more.
Totally. If Uncharted had climbing like this, I would be defending that series to this day.
Yeah.
It feels like when you watch those like videos that are like Real Climber analyzes climbing in media, it's like, it's still not perfect, but there are things in Jusant like, when you are purely holding onto the wall by your hands and your legs don't have purchase, your stamina goes down way faster, which is a thing where it's like you play Uncharted and it's like he's just been like muscling through this with his arms the whole time. Like he's not doing anything with his legs.
Fingertips, really.
Yeah. So it just feels it's like the game is not, honestly, my biggest knock against the game is that it's so forgiving that I think it's only like literally the last level where you have to like think about climbing, but it does like its mechanics lend just kind of like a more thoughtful nature to what going up a wall feels like.
It is funny how I was surprised at how many invisible walls there were, and I say this positively because like I was like I kind of want to just jump off and see what happens, right? Like just jump out into the distance, and it won't let you do that. Like
unless you slam a python in the wall first, and then it does let you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess I kept going up to ledges and just trying to jump off there weren't walls necessarily nearby.
If there's a wall nearby, yeah.
But you have to put something down, right? Because it'll catch you. You can't just like fling yourself off the mountain, right? I guess.
I mean, I think is there a game over? Like I fell pretty far and I never game overed. I think you cannot actually like die, but you do have to like start climbs again.
Yeah.
The other game that I was surprised it reminded me of is Prince of Persia 2008. I don't know if you guys have the same love for that game that I do, but it's a very pretty game like Jusant. It's also a game where like you get to certain places and you press a button and life comes back to that area, like plants grow and stuff like that. But also both games, like at face value, don't look like it's not platformer isn't quite the right word, but they don't look like things you can climb until you fully understand like what tools you have with you. And Prince of Persia is much more like faster and flowing and you're swinging and grabbing things. But it's like, I had the same feeling where in Jusant and Prince of Persia 2008, I look at a wall and I'm like, how am I supposed to even get up there? And then when you look a little closer, you're like, oh, I see now. Now I can make my way up there. Yeah. So it's been a nice sort of like relation to me, because like I just really adore that Prince of Persia game, and this is just reminiscent of it in a way I really like.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Grow Home. Remember that weird little Ubisoft game where it's like I think it's the same mechanics of like left hand, right hand, but just Grow Home if it was made by Ueda is kind of the easy pitch, I guess, for what is going on here with Jusant. I'm having a tough time with the leap at times, where like I'll try and leap up and he'll just be like leaping a little bit too far away from the wall. I think doing like the double leap helps a lot. But am I the only one who's finding that really finicky? Am I doing it wrong?
Are you holding down the triggers?
I feel like I've tried every variant. Yeah, where like
that was the trick for me, is like jump, let go of the triggers, and then pull them back again when you reach the handhold. I don't know if maybe that's the issue you've been running into.
Sometimes when it's like, the wall is leaning away from you, you kind of don't follow it as much as I intend to, and maybe there's a control I'm missing for that. But that is also the case of like knowing something risky is coming up and using one of your pythons to essentially checkpoint yourself there, which is a learned skill in this game.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna make a big jump here. Okay, let me put a python down. I also really like his shaking out his arms animation.
Oh, the resting is so good.
Oh,
yeah, yeah. I don't know why that's so satisfying just to watch somebody go After. By the way,
it's also one of the handful of Unreal 5 games that can get now. Like there aren't that many. I think it's like Remnant 2 and Lords of the Fallen and whatever. And it's like it's really interesting because this game is essentially textureless. It's doing that kind of like just like flat vertices of color, but like the lighting is so good in this game. The way that you can be kind of like in kind of like a crevice within the wall, and harsh sunlight is coming off one wall and then like bouncing around to the other ones. It's like, I think it's a really interesting example of how like good graphics tech can work with non-realistic art styles, because it's like this game, you're not like, oh my God, look at the hair detail or something, but like it still looks really good. And I assume really good in kind of like a Lumen related way or whatever the other kind of Unreal 5 buzzwords are.
Yeah.
Yeah, one other testament to the style is that there's no spoken words in this game, but I've still not had the urge to put in a podcast at all.
Yep.
Just like the mood and the music is so compelling to get sucked into.
Yeah. There was somebody who wrote in for community questions, and they were like, I don't want to read those notes in this game. I chose not to, and I think it's a better game for it. And that kind of got in my head, because like I read the first like 3 notes that I found, but something about like the font and the words where I'm like, I think this is a better experience if I just go without any of their little notes and just kind of make my own story of what's happening here.
That's my biggest knock, is how long the notes are.
Yeah.
It really, you have to sit there and read 3 pages. It makes me appreciate
are they worth it in some way?
I'm here to defend the notes.
Okay.
I like them. It's another game about climate change, which we've got a lot of this year. It's a game about like people dealing with the end of the world and whatever. And I do agree that it's like the game is so nicely minimalist, and then it's like, here's a bunch of text. But I think they're actually, by the end of the game, I was really looking forward to them, and they have characters that kind of like continue as you go along. It's not always just like random people leaving things. But on subsequent playthroughs, I would just be like, all right, it's climbing time.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if that flashed on the screen before you started. I will admit that I am really compelled by just the setting, and I do want to know what's going on there, because like you're climbing a mountain and there are boats like up like the mountain and stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, what happened here exactly? Which and they seem to not believe that clouds are water in the sky. Like that's just that doesn't make sense to them, which is a kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, they're like, it says that water comes from the sky. I don't think so. It's like,
but it's nice.
Are interesting.
It's nice that it starts at the top of the game by just saying Jusant, a French nautical term for receding tide. It's like, okay, let's stop all speculation of what this name means. Let's just try and remind you, and then it fits with the story as well in a fun way.
Yeah, it's good. I don't see a world where I don't finish it, especially because it sounds like I'm not even that far from the end. I assume you guys have finished it or are very close?
Close.
Yeah, finished it.
Cool.
Here's a question. Don't Nod's best game?
Yes, absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
But
I like Life is Strange, but like, if I was just going to be like everyone will like this one game from a studio, I wouldn't recommend Life is Strange. No. I might recommend Jusant.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm totally with you.
Life is Strange never did that much for me. Remember Me does have some sort of, that AAA climbing that we're sort of talking about, where it's really straightforward.
That game is secretly very interesting. And once you get past the AAA climbing, which is not interesting.
But Leo, you're not a Twin Mirror fan?
Life's mission is to destroy that game and everything it stands for.
It is weird to look at like Don't Nod's library. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about Twin Mirror and Tell Me Why. They're two kind of Life is Strange
Vampire?
things.
We're all talking about Vampire all the time. With
that's
a Y.
right. That's it.
Why?
Vampire with a Y.
Because we gotta.
Yeah, what a cool game out of the blue. Really happy with it.
Hell, you got to move it along though.
No, don't move it along.
You know how this whole thing operates?
No, I don't know.
No, we're not there yet.
I have to waste my voice on this boring story from a wedding I was at recently. Man, I went to a wedding in Seattle last weekend or whatever. And there's this guy there. It's just best case scenario being sat next to a random super interesting dude. But he climbed El Capitan, like the free solo mountain. He did it with ropes and stuff, not
free solo.
Not free solo style. That's exactly it.
Loser.
But, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I got to spend most of the dinner at this wedding just chanting "loser, loser." But how long do you think it takes, Leo, to climb El Capitan?
8 hours.
7 days.
Wow.
7 days, and so then you sleep like on just little ledges. And you just like strap yourself in so you can't roll off. But he's like, yeah, it's like as narrow as like maybe a cot. You just sleep on the side of this damn mountain.
That would be so pointless to try and sleep for me.
I know. It's unbelievable.
What if it was the best sleep of your life and you were like, I got to install a hammock like up on my ceiling?
But it has to be like...
I feel like it would be the best sleep of my life because I would have been hauling my ass up a mountain all day.
I guess that's it. That's probably the only way you can sleep is you're just so drained. But he was saying that they have a bunch of like photographers at the bottom who just go and like take photos of climbers all day. What's that, Leo?
Nothing.
Okay. Just regular
you'll
creeps
catch
down there.
As you go back to it in post, you'll catch the joke. It was very good.
And so there's just climbers down there, or like photographers down there that take photos of people climbing the mountain and stuff. And so he said when he was done with his climb, he went to where the photographers like post all these photos or whatever. And he said that the one they got of him was him pooping into a grocery bag. And they just like posted that photo. He's like, come on, man. Like, he took a photo of me taking a dump into a grocery bag on my climb. Come on.
It's like the Disney rides, like taking the most embarrassing picture of you.
Exactly. Oh.
Yeah, I thought that ride was supposed to take my photo. That's weird. And then it gets you in the bathroom. The flash goes off.
All right. Well, I won't move it along here.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about WarioWare Move It, which you guys will be surprised has a micro game where you poop into a grocery bag.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one that's been playing this, I assume, right?
Yes. Nintendo has graced you with it.
I love WarioWare. The last one, Get It Together, was okay. I had fun with it, and it was a good time, but it felt kind of like a step back. Like, it wasn't quite as zany as, what you want from WarioWare. And, like, WarioWare Move It, which feels kind of like the successor to the Wii game Smooth Moves, sort of, is like everything I want from WarioWare. Like, it is my favorite WarioWare in a long time.
Whoa.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, what the hell's going on here then, Kyle? Because I see reviews and everybody says it sucks butt. But then again, like, the last WarioWare, everybody's like, oh, this is a bad game. It's like, look, the middle of the road WarioWare is still better than 95% of games out there,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the negative feedback to the game that I've seen is valid, where it's like sometimes the things that they want you to do with the Joy-Cons, like the game can't quite handle, and it's not perfect.
Well, that sounds like a true successor to the Wii one.
I mean,
where the Wii remote had no idea what you were doing at all.
I know, and the funny thing is like I'm almost certain, like if we went back to Smooth Moves like today, we would be like, this is like borderline unplayable. I bet. But I mean, I truly I would say like 95% of the actions it wanted me to do, like I worked totally fine and were great. But there were that 5% that don't work well. The trickiest one is you have to drop the Joy-Con in your left hand and let it hang from the wrist strap. Pick up the Joy-Con in your right hand and like hold it at your hand like a camera. Because what you have to do is use the IR camera in the left Joy-Con to like do a mini game. Like one was like make different hand motions and stuff like that. And the thing about that is like the way the game works is it flashes a pose at you. It's like, okay, this is what this game's going to be. And every time that one comes up, I scramble because I'm like, oh, okay, wait, I got to drop the right hand, grab this, and you know. Yeah. But that being said, like once you get the hang of it, which takes a little while, like the tech is cool. Like it's weird for it to be like, okay, flash a peace sign, and that's the micro game. Right, you know, it like tracks your hand. But it is a game like in the same way that you have like you play VR, like you have to kind of like get yourself hyped up and ready to play WarioWare Move It. Like you have to make space. You have to go get the wrist straps for the Joy-Cons.
This is a deal breaker. I mean, it won't be. I'll play and love this game. But you told me that like you need the wrist straps for the Switch Joy-Cons to play. Like you literally need those things that I assume most of us threw away on day one.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. I tried to get away with it because there's a couple games where you have to drop Joy-Cons and be able to pick them back up quickly. Like I mentioned, the one where you have to scan your hand, it expects you to like have the Joy-Con dangling at your wrist so you can grab it and be ready to go for the next game. Well, and then there are some where you actually have to get down on the floor and put the Joy-Cons like down on the ground, and then you have to like quickly lift your hand up into the air and stuff like that.
I'm confused by you having two Joy-Cons at all times. Have you tried multiplayer at all? Is that two Joy-Cons too, or do you just use one?
There is. I haven't done multiplayer. The single player game can be played, like the campaign. I'm not sure how it works. Can be played 2-player, but each player does need two Joy-Cons. Because I went to play with my kid. And I was like, hey, let's play multiplayer. And I handed her a Joy-Con. And like, we couldn't really start the game because it's like every person needs two. And I didn't have another set charged.
Oh my God. So if you want to just have 4 friends over, you need 4 sets of Joy-Cons to play this game?
Well, there's a different mode, like a party mode.
Okay.
And I believe in that one, I think everyone can use one.
That's nice to hear. Yeah. All right. Okay. So it's weird that just people are having so many technical issues with some of the forms and stuff. Like that's such a rare Nintendo thing, I guess. And it feels rare, I guess, just for this thing not to work.
It's like a throwback to the Wii era, right?
I mean,
I guess. But I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, yes, you'll have the occasional issue, but like for me, it really did not bring the game down at all. Because it's like sometimes you kind of struggle with understanding how a game works, and maybe it doesn't quite work, but it's like it's a micro game. It's gone in 2 seconds, and this entry is also particularly forgiving, where like if you get a game over, it makes you do a stupid pose for a couple seconds, and then you can start back with 4 lives right where you left off. So like you're never in that position where it's like I lost all my lives at the boss and now I have to start over.
Yeah,
like just the way the game is, it's like it's not going to make you ever start over, which like maybe that would annoy you if you want like a challenge, but I'm in WarioWare to just have like a really novel, bizarre surprise experience that really makes me laugh. And like this is the best for that because it's all about putting yourself in stupid poses.
Yeah.
Like some are very simple, like, you just hold the Joy-Cons in front of you, you put them above your head, but there's one that's called the Baka that wants you to like stand like a chicken and like, have your rooster tail in front and the back, and then you kind of have to do like turn and look around and act like a chicken, and sometimes you have to like get on the ground and do stupid stuff. Like and
then you lose and you go, oh, this stupid game, dang it,
6 out of 10.
Look like a freaking idiot. I mean, it's like since they announced the Switch and showed off the Joy-Con, my thought has been like, I can't wait to play WarioWare with this, and this is that game. Where it's like they use the sort of all the elements of the motion controls and stuff like that to make you do really fun, stupid stuff. And the games are pretty much all new. I really haven't seen like a lot of repeated games or throwbacks or anything like that. And I really like it. Like I said, truly, it's probably my favorite WarioWare since the Wii one, since Smooth Moves, I think.
Really?
That's like
Yeah.
I mean, Gold was so good on 3DS. You're forgetting that it had everything in it?
Are you forgetting that like everybody else on the planet Earth?
Hello.
I'm sorry. I mean, Gold is the thing I like about Gold is it's basically like a greatest hits album of WarioWare. Like that's like the one. I wish they would bring that to Switch just to have that as like, we'll have it in a catalog. Like if you've never like experienced WarioWare, you should check this out. But in terms of like having a brand new WarioWare experience that does new stuff and has new games and makes you be goofy and makes you look like an idiot and like have a good time. I haven't had that really since Smooth Moves, I feel like.
Kyle, question?
Yes, Ben.
Here. Great job hosting, by the way. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's fun to listen to. And I'm on it. Question is, Charles Martinet, not in this game, right?
No.
So it's the first time hearing the new guy's Wario, which I feel like Wario is a taller order than some Mario voice. Anybody has a Mario voice. My voice right now could be a Mario voice.
That feels opposite for me.
Really?
Yeah. Wait, let's go around and I'll do a wah. 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 Wah.
Actually, I think Ben's is improved by the raspy.
Oh, wait a minute.
Can you tell us how much you love garlic, Ben?
Oh, so much.
You could be the new Wario.
Surprise, I am. Look at the credits. Thank you, Nintendo.
I mean, starting the game, like my reaction was like, this is fine, right? It's a new voice for Wario. It does throw me off.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's like one of those things. It's like I would never say like this is bad. They're doing a bad job, but it's just like it's different. Which is odd. And
now Warrior's not going to win Best Character of the Year in the 210s. Thanks a lot, new guy.
I mean, he really ordered those 50 garlic burgers in the opening cutscene with all of his heart. I mean,
that does sound funny. Never mind. Maybe this game is good.
But yeah, I mean, truly, yeah. I mean, and WarioWare, Ben, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. Like, I think I really like it a lot, and it's super fun. But like, I guess the big downside is it's really not a game you just kind of sit down and casually play. Like, I had to it became sort of my morning ritual for a couple days. Before my morning meetings, I'd be like, well, let me play Wario. Let me warm up by playing Move It for like 30 or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
perfect. Yeah. That sounds great.
I imagine we'll talk about that more, and I think there are plans for the charity stream to play it, right? Even though that's been pushed back, that will be a good one to play with people on camera.
Oh, good,
right.
For sure.
December 2nd, our YouTube channel, check it out, please.
I want to hear about The Finals, which is a game that I've watched in trailer form but haven't actually touched myself. It looks. The trailers are good. They did a good job with those trailers.
That's what I thought. That got me interested. As if the game plays half this good. And you know what? Constantly trailer moments are happening in gameplay.
It's true.
Really?
Yeah. They kill somebody by throwing the objective at them. You carry a box around and somebody threw it at an opponent and they blow up into coins in the trailer. My friend did that right in front of me.
Whoa.
And the coin, that's like that. I was wondering if that was like a trailer thing. I suppose that'd be really stupid to have that in the trailer of like blowing up into coins, Ready Player One style. But that's just like
that's in there.
Or maybe I should say Scott Pilgrim style.
I was gonna say, Kyle. I don't mean to correct you as the host, but
no, thank you.
You know what they should have included in the trailer is playing video games with your friend Leo Vader, because that's my favorite part of it so far.
Oh, come on.
It is like so many team games where it's like an absolute blast to play with friends and coordinate and have little plans. And I like it so much that sometimes I try to play it by myself and have a totally miserable time. So it will be dependent on if my friends keep wanting to play it with me. But this isn't a Leo game. This is the number one wishlisted game on Steam right now.
Really?
Free-to-play multiplayer The Finals.
Leo, stop playing it. Just back out now.
I'll go one step further, Leo, and say I am not a multiplayer first-person shooter guy in general. Certainly not like a coordination-based one. I've been playing with Leo and Alex from Game Informer. Ben, amazing. I played with a team of people that I knew yesterday, and it was like not fun. So it's like not only do you need a team, you need a team that is all like really working on the same level, because I feel like my experience with the game has been boiled down to like, oh my gosh, it is so fun to be doing well in this game. It is not fun to lose. And that's like, it's a weird criticism, but like there are some shooters where like like Call of Duty, I think winning and losing feels basically the same. And it's like, it's all pretty fun. You know, like a team deathmatch doesn't feel functionally different to be like winning or losing. In this, it's like winning is unbelievable and losing is like a lot of respawn timers and being frustrated that your team is not playing with you as much as you want them to be.
Yeah, long run backs, lots of helpful abilities that you can be mad at your friends for not remembering to use, for sure. So, but I have some fun losing in it too, because there's like tons of destruction in this game. That's the main bullet point, is that pretty much any building can be completely leveled eventually. You can destroy floors and walls. You do enough of that and it all collapses around you, including the objective. You can destroy the floor underneath the objective and drop it to the next floor and keep doing that 5 times. And that is the most impressive thing. That is what is going to... I'm saying they're pulling Rainbow Six Siege's underpants down in the middle of the school cafeteria with this release. Rainbow Six Siege has been resting on its laurels as the one game that kind of has destruction, but there's bugs on it all the time. Everybody complains about it. This, somehow you can level the whole map and it works for everybody. I don't get how it works. But because of that, you can make these crazy plans and still kind of have some fun pulling some weird stuff off, even if you don't win at the end of it. Of course, getting stomped and doing nothing you're trying to do is definitely not fun. The runbacks are really bad, but there's so many weird little plans you can do. There's one where we had this objective kind of on the top floor of a building, and we were like, should we drop it to a different floor that's easier to defend? We have a sniper on our team. No, let's see if we can blow it completely out of the window of this building. Launch it with an explosive.
You're essentially you're protecting like an ATM. Like that's the objective, and you can throw it around. Yes, it can land on like jump pads and bounce. What's that?
You can use it as like a weapon. You can throw it at people, or
no, you can. So the game, like the main game mode, is you essentially get like a cash box somewhere, and then you have to run that cash box over to an ATM, throw it in, and then the ATM takes a while to like digest the cash or whatever. And in any phase of that, the other teams can steal the cash box or the ATM from you with enough time. And Leo, I don't mean to interrupt what you were saying.
No,
but
I was very myself because I'm excited.
A very important aspect of this is there are 3 teams in most matches, and in tournaments there are actually 4 teams all playing at the same time. And that is weirdly, it's like, it is way more fun and feels more fair or like doable to play with 3 teams than 2 teams. Because like in the equivalent, which is like, I was thinking about like playing Rush in Battlefield Bad Company 2 or something, where it's like you have one side trying to destroy something and you have another side protecting it. And the people protecting it can get so set up that it is just impossible to get anywhere near them. And that can happen in this game, but like, because there are 3 teams, you inevitably have situations where like the team protecting is distracted by fighting the other team, and then you can sneak in there because like, since you're not the only target, you actually have more chances to kind of like mess up their defenses. And so it's like, it's built on third partying, you know, it's built on like messing up a conflict between 2 teams that's already happening. And in the situations where we were playing a game and like one of the teams dropped out mid-match, it instantly became like almost unplayable. It's like the 3 is so important, and it really works when it's working.
And it's teams of 3, right? Did you guys already say that?
Yes.
So it's like 3
teams of 3.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we did a ranked tournament. The ranked mode is tournaments which start as multiple matches, 4 different matches happening simultaneously, and then it knocks out the bottom teams, merges a couple of the matches, knocks out the bottom teams, merges the matches until eventually it becomes the top team against the top team. And Jacob and Alex and I totally moneyballed our way to the finals by third partying smartly. And after your whole team gets wiped, you can free cam around. So we'd fly around and see like, oh, here's where the battle's happening. If we go around to the side, we can take that objective and hold it before they like realize what's happening. And we totally strategized our way there. And then when it was just us versus the other final team, they were way, way better than us. But we still managed to get a steal off on them and like get 1 point on them, which felt really good.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's always the best. And that's why I fell in love with Siege, is because my friends and I weren't the most amazing shooters, never have been, never will be. But if you're with friends communicating on voice, We do okay. But it's when we won, it was because we outsmarted the other team. And that is what feels so amazing. It's like we worked together better than they did. And there's a lot of that DNA in here.
That's sweet. Yeah, speaking of DNA, this is Embark Studios. And you talk about the destruction, like it's a bunch of former Battlefield folks, like the Battlefield sound designer and the studio head of DICE and a bunch of other folks from DICE that left to start this thing. And the weird thing is they're also making Arc Raiders, which is that free-to-play, if you remember one, it kind of had like the 70s color aesthetic and whatnot. But that was kind of their bigger game. I felt like this was kind of like the smaller project that was kind of leading into the bigger project of Arc Raiders. And now, if this one has this much momentum, I wonder if this is going to become their main thing. Because, I mean, it seems like it's catching on in a big way.
It is, as it's been the open or closed beta for the last like week. And the servers have been getting worse as it goes on because the hype keeps building and more people keep getting in.
Oh God!
But the end of the story I wanted to tell earlier was just that launching the objective out of the building, it landing on the ground 7 stories down from where it started. Me and the other teammate got killed. It was just our sniper left, and we were like, "We're so close to the end. Just hide, and you'll see when they start to steal it. You get the little, it's flashing red because you can do last second steals. That's how you get a lot of points in this game. Is just wiping the team defending it, stealing it, and you get all the credit in most of the modes. But yeah, watch for the steal, and my friend did that." Saw they were stealing, peeked out, and took all the time in the world to line up a headshot because we had moved the objective out into the open like that, and then killed the guy, and then the match ended. And it was so satisfying to have stratted our way through like that. Yeah. And you're always making those decisions of which cash out should we go to, which one seems more defendable for us. Okay, we got here with a good lead on the other teams. Let's throw these goo grenades to like generate these walls and build a little more defensible place for us. But then of course it can all go to hell when they destroy underneath it and suddenly the building is collapsing around you. There's so many moments where I unforced just have ejected, oh my God, because so much destruction is happening around me and I'm still like trying to get kills through it and trying to revive my friends through it.
There are like zip lines everywhere, but the ends of the zip lines are destructible. And so like you can be on a zip line and then someone on another team or your own team, like, you know, knocks out the corner of the building that it's going to, and then you just fall. But there's no fall damage in this game, which is great. And so it's like a game built on like jumping off a 7-story building and just like falling to the ground.
Right. They're also creatable zip lines, which I unlocked, and Jacob was running ahead of me, threw down a jump pad and jumped off of it, and I created a zip line up to a roof. And as he fell back down, he landed on the zip line that I created while he was in midair and just took it up to the roof. And like, there's so many weird little creative moments like that with the interesting tools they give you. There's a grapple hook. There's a Titanfall 2 style grapple hook. It's not quite as good. The highest praise I can ever give a game is it's almost as good as Titanfall 2.
All right.
This is almost as good.
God, that's exciting. It's like, I think of like Ubisoft and X Defiant, which they're like, we're going to launch it. It's indefinite hiatus at the moment. But that's like Ubisoft's attempt at a Call of Duty game, which, Leo, I think you liked when you played it, right?
I don't know where you got that.
I think you said it on the podcast. You said, I'm here and I'm clear. I love X Defiant.
Multiplayer doesn't mean Leo's automatically on board.
Yeah, it needs to have dodgeball or roller skates.
I might have said I played it. I definitely played it a fair amount, but I never smiled.
Is that right? Okay, well, I take it back. But yeah, I just think of like that game being like, all right, we're going to wait a little bit for release, and then this game coming in, and I don't know how many free-to-play shooters can really grab the zeitgeist at any point. Sure. And so now it's like this one feels like it's doing so many fresh new things, or at least old things in a new, refreshing way is probably a better way to put it, right? I'm sure Ubisoft is like, oh, God damn it. this was our window, and now the finals has taken it.
And the style is not bad. It's like a lot. It's overstimulating. There's a lot of explosions and bright lights and stuff, but it's not really annoying. And some of the cosmetics have been genuinely cool.
Ooh.
There's a sniper skin that makes it look like cardboard, which is like, okay, a lot of guns have had this. A lot of games have had this. But then you zoom in and rotate it around. It's like, really looks like cardboard. And then you look down the stock of it and it's like folded up cardboard. Like it's just this totally pretend sniper rifle all of a sudden.
That's awesome.
There's some cute cosmetics like that.
By the way, the Backstage Pass, Shan's got it. They say, I remember this specifically. Leo said he thought X Defiant was going to be huge, but he never said he liked it. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, your prediction that it was going to be huge.
Interesting that I thought it'd be huge. I don't know if I stand by that, but it's easy to get more and more against something the further I get from it.
But my guess for the finals is they're probably going to launch it at the Game Awards. Like they've shown it there before, and the fact that it's an open beta now and Game Awards are coming up in a month, like that seems like the roadmap, I'd imagine.
So that was my question. They don't have like a public. This is when the game is out properly or anything like that.
No, it just says coming soon.
Well, I will say, I mean, closed beta, but like I didn't have to apply. I just downloaded it on Steam and pressed play, and it was like you're in. It's not like they're credential checking.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think it's public beta. Yeah, I mean the public beta is over now, but I think it's got to be coming up at Game Awards, I'd imagine. I'll
also give credit for the goofy play options that are in here. Alex Van Aken really gravitated towards being a heavy guy with a hammer, and there's no secondary weapons. You only have a hammer in these giant wide open spaces. It's like a really bad idea, you'd think, but he makes it work. He can play around it, and when you catch people within hammer distance, he goes to town, and it's really satisfying to watch. And of course, he can also level any wall or floor instantly. And the heavy has this charge that it's so fun to be running alongside the heavy, and then he uses his charge and he just sprints through the wall ahead of you and makes this whole new line of sight. And there are bridges that can be destroyed. It's like Siege. It's what I fell in love with Siege, in that every moment is like fertile for interesting decisions and things you haven't seen in another match.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think the biggest knock on it for me, which is not for everyone, is just like you can't really, it's not like a hangout game. You know, it's like I play Fortnite all the time because me and my friends barely have to talk about what is happening in the game there. Mostly it's just us chilling. This is like very intense. If you're not communicating, you're not going to win. And like, even though it's fun and silly, I do think that it is more of a Valorant or a Counter-Strike-esque game than a Fortnite or a Destiny. Like, it's not, you know, even though you don't have to be playing ranked matches, you can just be doing quick things. But like, communication is just required. And like Leo said, doing games with randoms is not very fun. And even doing games with friends, if the friends aren't like devoted to really working together, is tough, you know? Totally. So it's like you really need to have a friend group, and it needs to be 3. It can't be 4, you know? It's my Fortnite group is 4 people, and one of us is going to have to get kicked out if we're playing the finals.
You could find a new friend and play Overwatch.
Oh, or I could not do that.
Yeah, is this too simplistic that what Valorant is to Counter-Strike, the finals is to Rainbow Six Siege?
No, Valorant's more similar, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Similar.
That's not bad, though. That's not bad.
All right,
I just won't ever say anything that comes across like 4 degrees from being a compliment to Valorant. I just can't get on board with that.
All right, I get
it. Do you think, I'll ask this question for Ben since his voice is going, do you think it'll be in your top 10, Leo, your 2 10s? We'll make the 2 10s?
Oh, if I'll count it the year,
I guess is probably the question.
But yeah, maybe I don't know. I really like it, but I haven't gone back and done an inventory yet. There are tons of games I like this year.
Yeah.
Also, it's like it's hard even if the full game releases at the Game Awards, it's like a beta gonna be, you know, in the top 10, or like a game that's been out for like 3 days.
Yeah.
By heartbeat though, it's certainly up there for this year. If you measured my dopamine levels.
Oh, I was wondering what you meant by heartbeat. I feel like I've never heard that before.
It's a science thing.
Okay. I've just never heard it as like this is how I rank a thing I like is what I meant.
No, yeah, there are many ways to, and if you were to choose that one.
Well, speaking of hearts and pulling them out of people's chests and shoving them through a billboard. Let's talk a little bit about Alan Wake 2, which, you know, the deepest dive, which Ben plugged at the top of the show, is going strong. So there's a place to hear a lot more about Alan Wake from MinnMax. But, I mean, Jacob, I imagine you want to have a platform to sort of talk about Alan Wake 2, right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I haven't listened to the deepest dive yet just because I haven't had time. I am like 1 mission away from the end of the game, I think. I'm very close. And I started off the hottest of hots on it. And I'm really interested to figure out like where I think this game is going to end well is my guess. But like right now I'm kind of I'm not quite as hot just because it's like the Kyle, as you said in your review, it's like there is gameplay stuff that gets in the middle of how the cool stuff that the game's doing. And it's just kind of in like a very limbo space in terms of like how I'm feeling about the game right now.
I can see that.
That makes me feel good, Jacob, because lately I feel like maybe I'm like losing my mind. Like I like Alan Wake 2 a lot. Like I sing a lot of praises for that game in my review on GameInformer.com. But I did come on, if you're unfamiliar, I came in kind of low on the sort of review score compared to most people. And what I'm hearing a lot now is like, I think people have some similar complaints to me, but I think maybe I just weighed them more than other people.
It is something I have rarely thought about, kind of like how you would formulate a review more than with Alan Wake 2, because essentially the question is like, hey, do you start at 0 and give it points every time it does something cool? Or do you start at 10 and take away points when it does something bad? Because like, if I'm starting at 0 and giving it points, it's way up there, because the highs in this game, like the things that it is trying are like so cool. And I tweeted this, but it's like after playing Spider-Man 2, playing a game that feels like, oh my God, here is an authorial point of view, that it feels like it has just like made decisions that I love and are weird and unexpected, is like so refreshing. But there's a lot of stuff. I have been wondering the past few days playing this, if my game is somehow glitched in that I set it on the normal difficulty, but it had actually set itself on the hard difficulty, because I have found that combat in that game is like almost unplayable for me.
Really?
And it's either it sounds like a ridiculous thing to be like, I said on normal and the combat's on hard, but it's like I will dump like an entire clip of pistol ammo, like 12 bullets into an enemy's head after like breaking their shield, and they keep coming and they don't like react to the shots.
You have enough words of gun?
I'm talking about Saga here, but it's like, and then in Alan sections where they're like the shadows, and some of them attack you and some of them don't, and it just like, I like dread the combat sections in this game, because it's just like, here's a part where I'm going to die a whole bunch of times, and the really cool thing that's happening in the game is going to become less cool because I'm going to have to like go through the checkpoint and see it all happen like 6 times. And so I knocked it down to easy just last night, which feels bad because now every enemy dies in like a single shot.
Right.
But it like, I found that very frustrating, and I'm mad that it's taking away from the cool things that this game is doing, which I think are so cool, and it's like, I don't want to get caught.
And they're just knocking it out of the park and everything.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to get caught talking about the negatives because like, oh my gosh, but it is like, they're more frustrating for how good I think like so many of the things the game is attempting are.
Yeah, when you said that you're losing sleep because you're thinking about this game so much, what type of stuff are you thinking about?
It was like, it happened like the first night, and I can't even, it was just like the thing that you're all past, but like, going into that first overlap with Saga, and like, I mean, just the like, I suppose Alan Wake 1 was also a horror game, but it's just like place in the generations and the kind of like, the maximum tech things it could do are just kind of low enough that you play it now and it doesn't feel particularly scary. And this game is just able to do like weird, scary things. And like the snapping back and forth of realities, it all just kind of gets in my brain.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought so far, just in the first third. Yeah, I've just been blown away again by the presentation. We talk about it, but and thankfully somebody in the comments corrected us, because I was gushing over like, there's just a scene with like a live action projector projecting like a real actor, and then you can walk as a character in front of that, and just like having a video game character have a live action person projected onto them, like that level of just weird things. Like I've never played this in a game before. Somebody in the comments though was like, they did that in Control. Technically, you could move the projector around at the live action things. Like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of forgot about that. But
that is fun to get like excited about a studio and see like, okay, they were kind of practicing,
right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
like they go harder in these
getting excited about a studio, just the like right. I was kind of expecting. I knew that Control would be related to this game. I don't think I expected how much. I certainly did not expect how much freaking Max Payne would be in this game. Like it feels like 40% of a Max Payne game, and like I love the actor so much, and hearing him deliver lines again is so fun for me. And the things where the cutscenes are like, there'll be like a second flash where the characters just like are making the cover of Max Payne 2 or whatever. And it's just like, it's so, I feel dumb because I criticize things for being like, having just like, I recognize this, I don't want them to just give me like, hey, I get that reference. But like, it goes so much further than that. And the kind of like the layers of meta fiction that they are doing with like taking Max Payne kind of and putting him in this world are just so interesting.
Yeah, and so if you haven't played it yet, just to be really clear, so the Max Payne thing, it's not that Max Payne shows up. It's the idea of Sam Lake, who is the face model for the original Max Payne. He's a character in this game that's voiced by the guy who also voiced Max Payne. So spiritually, Max Payne is in it, and they know what they're doing with those ingredients,
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Remedy multiverse stuff, Remedy Connected Universe, is not going to work for absolutely everybody, but I think they're doing such a good job of it that it's like you don't feel left out by not being super familiar with everything they're referencing. It's like pulling you in by going, here's these individual elements and why they're cool, and they work on their own in here. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about them, we have these ways to do that, but it doesn't feel like it's pushing people away or being like an exclusive club or anything. It's just like almost a celebration of their stuff.
There was a news story recently that the headline was along the lines of like, Remedy offers updates on Control 2 and the Max Payne remake. And my thought was like, yeah, it's called Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, right.
They released it. Everybody.
Yeah, I'm just so thankful. It's a weird thing that like it took them this long to make Alan Wake 2, because I feel like if they would have made that version in 2015 or whatever, it would have been like an okay follow-up to Alan Wake, and it'd probably play on the Resident Evil 4 mechanics a little bit more, yada yada. But just like, it feels like letting them cook for this long, it has just resulted in such a weird, bold, dare I say, more artistically interesting experience,
And the whole plot just being like, some dude was going crazy for 13 years writing, and then this happened.
Yes.
And then like that being the game that you play.
Yes. It is. I mean, this is early on, but it's like, this might be just one of the most interesting games I've played since Metal Gear Solid 4. Like that level of just like, there's so much to unpack.
About what it means to the studio and all those sorts.
Yeah.
And like where y'all have stopped in the deepest dive, you got some big stuff coming.
Yeah.
Like I cannot wait.
The next episode in particular, I'm very interested to see reactions.
It's I'm so curious where it goes, because where we're at right now, there was a lot of like, yeah, maybe this isn't working, or this is bad or dumb or whatever, but maybe it's explained in this opposite way in the future or whatever. It's like there's infinite like imagination we have right now, and I'm curious to see where we land when we're in Kyle mode at the end.
No, that is
Kyle mode.
No, and that is the big thing too, is like, I mean, a real thrill for me is I loved playing Marvel Spider-Man 2. We're going to do max spoilers about it in the future. But I love that entire experience, especially during the bigger chunks where it was like, I really don't know where this story could go. I think eventually Spider-Man's like, I think I got a good sense of where this is going. But that is the thrill of playing Alan Wake 2, is just like, truly, I have no idea where they're going to be going in the future, in what medium it's going to be told to me. It's like, that range of possibilities is so exciting. But is it too simplistic to say just 2023, everyone's like, oh, best year for games. I think there's an interesting discussion to be had about that. But it's like, it just feels like one of the weirdest year for games. Like, it seems like all of the big games are just bizarre. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, the range of possibilities there. Have Sex with the Bear, everybody loves it. Mario Wonder, it's like, it's just weird. Here you go. And Spider-Man 2 is being kind of the simpleton's choice, if you will, Jacob Geller. But at the same time, like, what I love about Spider-Man 2 is like it leans into the weirdness from the first game even more. Like there's so much mental stuff going on in Spider-Man 2 that I feel like it also falls in this category of just like, no, let's just lean into more surreal elements. And I feel like 2023 has really played that up in a bigger way than most years, I think.
Yeah, it's why I'll be arguing so hard against Final Fantasy 16 in the 210s, because that's every other game is doing such weird things. But yeah, it's, when you look at it's like Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16, I think stand out as like kind of normal AAA releases in a game that has had a lot of like abnormal AAA releases in really interesting ways.
Yeah, I will stand up for Spider-Man 2 though. I do think there's like, I feel like 7 of those missions take place in people's minds. Like there's a lot of cool stuff in that game.
Yeah, man. And we all played Far Cry 3, Ben. We've seen the inside of people's minds before.
Yeah, that is the hard part of Spider-Man 2. Also really good.
Yeah.
That truly is. Yeah.
Remember Ultra Hand, you guys?
Yes, I mean, honestly, I think that falls in the camp too. Ultra Hand is a weird thing. Slapping stuff together with green goo and it frickin' rules. Like, it's the weirdest year.
Definitely.
And, speaking of Metal Gear Solid 4, which you mentioned like 5 minutes ago, Ben. Nailed it.
Yes.
The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 is out on everything. I actually ended up playing it quite a bit. I probably played like 45 minutes to an hour Metal Gear Solid 1, and then like 2 or 3 hours of Metal Gear Solid 2, and almost like 4 or 5 hours of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Because I really adore those games, and I am curious if there's anybody out there picking them up for the first time, because it's really hard for me to not have nostalgia goggles for those games and know completely how they work from the start. And like, it's like, oh, well, I got to go first person and, shoot people in the head with my tranquilizer gun, which is like, if I remember correctly, it probably actually took me a while to figure that out the first times I played it. But Ben, I think maybe you have the most to say about the game. I don't know. How's your voice doing? You doing okay? You gonna make it?
It's more like Big Bossy than Solid Snakey, but I think I can pull it out. Yeah, I mean, Master Collection, lots of asterisks here. I mean, it's cool to have the games playable on modern systems. There's a lot of belly aching, and I totally get it about like, resolution isn't that great, and it's technically 720, the upscale to 1080, and the PC version, the fans had to make it so it can run in 4K. Like, there's
did you play the Switch version at all? I have not touched on Switch.
I haven't.
I hear doesn't get above 30 FPS, right? That sounds disappointing.
Yeah,
I'm going off of what you were saying from that event that you went to.
Right. Yeah, I haven't touched the Switch one, so I need other folks to weigh in on that. But I've been playing on PS5. The only thing that's kind of weird is like, I don't like that it's like all separate launchers. You download everything separately. It's like, if I want the one-stop shop for Metal Gear stuff, I don't want to be like, okay, so this is the separate launcher on my PS5 dashboard to get the bonus features, and then within that is where I can play Snake's Revenge. Like, just give me the one thing to boot up and I can get to all these little details.
And then Metal Gear Solid, the confirm button is circle in all menus. Right. And then in 2 and 3, it's X, which is weird.
And that was a huge chance to standardize that.
Yeah. But at the same time, you talk about those menus, Kyle, hearing the menu sounds of a Metal Gear Solid game make me very happy. And so it's just like a stupid, simple thing. Like, that's back on my PS5, and that's a good feeling.
Booting up Metal Gear Solid 1 in particular, and there's that sound cue that like really they never use again. That's like bum, 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 bum.
Unbelievable.
It's like, oh, yes.
Truly, we are home.
But I mean, it really, at its simplest level, it's like, it's nice to have Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 playable on modern consoles. Like, I'm happy with that. And then maybe I'm the part of the problem, because that's really all I wanted. But like some of the sort of bonus features and things like that are, kind of underwhelming, and there's not a whole lot to them.
Yeah, the scripts are cool. There's like a little ebook you can flip through, stuff like that. You have the visual novels version that Ashley Wood made for 1 and 2, I believe. But Kyle, I'm kind of with you. I'd love to hear from people who are playing it for the first time, maybe, and I'd love to unpack it in a bigger way in the future and stuff. But like, going into this, I don't know what it is. It feels like gaming culturally it feels like, are the tides turning on Metal Gear? Is this going to now be embarrassing to go back to one of my favorite series, you know? And so I was kind of scared jumping into Metal Gear Solid 3 again and starting to play that again, where it's like, God, it is so dopey. We're going through a whole explanation of the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's just so much codec conversations. I get it. But at the same time, it's like, it got me just seeing, you know, Big Boss do the flick of the cigar in the opening, like just those little moments.
Pants flapping in the wind, which blew my mind on PS2 when he's like leaning out the plane.
Oh my God. And honestly, it just like the cinematography got me again. Very little about the gameplay got me again, but the presentation again completely charmed me once again. So Jacob, do you know what I'm saying? Where it feels like culturally, it does feel like, are we ready to say Metal Gear wasn't that good? Everyone should shut up.
No,
good.
I haven't felt that at all. But I think similar to Alan Wake, to games with a strong sense of authorship, even if they're dumb, are going to continue standing out and people saying this was when games were real, when confronted with other things coming out that we may or may not talk about.
Sure.
I mean, is that an opportunity to move into Delta? Because like I'm with Jacob, and like I haven't really.
Oh no, I was talking about Silent Hill Ascension.
We'll talk about it.
But yeah, I mean, my perception, Ben, has not been that like anyone's turning on Metal Gear as much as they're like turning on Konami.
Right.
In general,
that's the weird
like,
line. Yeah.
It's like playing these games is almost a reminder of like, yeah, man, Kojima really did something special here with these games. And now he's not involved in the franchise anymore. And there's a remake coming.
Yeah.
Which everyone is sort of the initial reaction to that trailer is kind of like, I don't know if this game's going to have a soul, which is like an interesting sort of ethereal take that I kind of agree with, but also will play the hell out of that game the second it's available to me. Metal Gear Solid 3 Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta is what it's called officially, right? Snake Eater?
Right. Metal Gear Solid Delta? Did they put the 3 in there? I don't think they did. I think they're trying to get away from it.
They dropped the solid, right?
No. They wouldn't drop the solid.
Yeah, and it feels like, you know, I'm glad Kojima's not making remakes, but it does feel like if he was involved, that game would be really interesting. You know, it would be doing like a Final Fantasy VII remake-esque, like, let's interrogate what it means to be a remake. And instead, it is exactly the same game with the same script with better graphics, which, like, hey, I don't want someone else rewriting it, but also it's just kind of like, you know, what are we doing here? Like, this is the best we can do, is just do like, you know, those things where someone's like, I remade Mario 64 in Unreal 5.
Right.
Like, that's what Delta kind of looks like to me.
It's also weird because it's like that and the collection. It's like a Konami board meeting where they're like, here's our 2 options for cash grabs. And they're like, why are we choosing?
Yeah. How do you feel about Twin Snakes, Jacob? Because I'm actually quite positive on Twin Snakes and love that it exists and wish it were part of the collection that came out recently, which is very much like someone else tackling Metal Gear Solid with Kojima consulting and being available.
Yeah.
Which is I think not what Delta is, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that Twin Snakes is an incredibly interesting cultural object in a way that there's almost no chance Delta will be. You know, like, I think it's interesting that we can have conversations about like what Twin Snakes is, you know, this far out from it, in a way that no one really talks about, like the Shadow of the Colossus remake.
Yes.
Like that or whatever. And it's like, you know, I don't think it's, you know, I don't think it's an improvement on Metal Gear Solid 1, but like, it is fascinating. And I will usually prefer fascinating to kind of boring.
Yeah. And then sort of on top of all this discussion, I can at least say that I've started Super Mario RPG remake, and which is, I think, is the Delta approach.
Yeah, of course, that's like, perfect.
Let's just fully remake this thing 100%. Is at least what it feels like so far of what I've played, which is like the first, you know, like 4 or 5 hours or something like that. And like, as someone who is very nostalgic for Mario RPG, like, I'm really enjoying it. You know, even though it truly is just like this. You remember this thing? Now it's prettier now. It's just perfect. Like, maybe that's what I want from Delta. I would be okay with that.
I think what's weird,
but I see what you're saying, Jacob. I would rather have the sort of odd discussion point, Kojima consulting on it or being more involved or something, just to give it, that edge that it probably won't have.
I feel like so much of it comes down to like that initial design of these games. For Mario RPG, it's like, you get it. You're doing a faithful recreation of that, and it makes sense. Something like the Shadow of the Colossus remake, I think, is interesting just because the design and ambition and world of Shadow of the Colossus originally was so ambitious ahead of its time that doing a faithful remake, it's like Blue Point made that game, and it's like it still feels awesome. Whereas Metal Gear Solid 3, as much as we all love it, I think we talked about on a previous episode of the podcast, Kyle, it's the best game of the decade. But remember that one when we went through and tried to figure out we already did the math, Kyle.
But I believe you.
We already did the math and all this. It turns out it was the best game of the decade.
Okay.
But even
I think that's right.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, it's so ambitious to be like, all right, snakes in the jungle, that it still had to gamify the jungle and make things more kind of gamified blocks of like this section, all right, walls here, closed off this way, 2 guards this way. It's the jungle, everybody, because there's grass textures, but you're not feeling like you're lost in the wilderness at any point in Metal Gear Solid 3. Maybe, the end fight, you're a little turned around. And so that's what's so wild about this remake, because like all the ingredients are there for it to be blown out and kind of, if you went back and made a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake based on the first discussions they probably had internally about what Metal Gear Solid 3 could be, of like, what if it was just survival in the jungle in the 60s? Like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Like that idea, I think, would age really well. But instead, just to make a very technically proficient, hopefully, in Unreal Engine 5 remake of like game design from 2004, of just kind of siloed little jungle sections. It's such an odd mix. I'm getting more and more pessimistic the more I see. But then again, I went and playing Metal Gear Solid 3 again, I was in the camp of like, I wouldn't mind having some updated controls here. I wouldn't mind a slightly smoother experience. And so maybe if it's just going to be
crouch walk would really go
right. Yeah. Yeah, what'd you think?
Because you have standing and crawling on the ground, and those are your options in Metal Gear Solid 3. Something in the middle would be lovely.
Yeah. What did you think about going back and playing the opening of 3 again, though, Kyle?
And I loved it. And like I was saying, it's hard to not look through that game with nostalgia glasses. Yeah. It is, although that one's weird for me because Metal Gear Solid 3, at the point where it came out in my life, this is a weird way to talk about it, I just like inhaled everything about the game prior to release.
Yeah.
To the point where there were still a lot of major surprises, but I like knew who all the bosses were. I knew about the suicide pill and the tooth. I knew like that whole sequence, to the point where like I was kind of underwhelmed at the time, like when I played it the week it came out, just because like it like taught me to like be careful with like reading too much about something you're excited about.
Sure.
Like pull it back sometimes. But when I revisit the game, because like the last time I played both 2 and 3 in full was when it came out on 360 and PlayStation 3, and playing it there, I was like, oh well, 3 does sort of hold up better over time and does play the best, even though 2 is still like my personal favorite. 3 is the one that like I feel like I can recommend to maybe like Metal Gear newbies, or the one that's just the easiest to go back to, and it's like the cleanest, if that makes sense.
A good standalone.
Yes, yeah. And it is like both in a narrative and just even like mechanically, I feel like it's the one that I like enjoy going back to the most, even if 2 will just forever be my favorite, and nothing will unseat that.
I had a weird experience of playing it again here, just the opening, and I was like, I liked Subsistence when it came out, but I was like, I'm more nostalgic for the other camera, and so I switched it away from the third-person camera just to have the more Metal Gear Solid 2 style camera like it originally launched with. It's like,
where it's locked, like you don't have control.
Right. Yeah, just something, I don't know, I guess like just it feels more dated in a quaint way playing it like that, than I guess it trying to feel more modern, but it's still in this uncanny valley control-wise where the third-person camera makes you feel like you can do more and it should feel more comfortable than it really does,
Yeah. I don't think I could go back to that mode.
Yeah?
I think I should try it, though, just for nostalgia's sake.
I forgot, man, I'm kind of freaked out. Like, I love this game so much, but then again, it's like, it's been a long time since I've played all the way through Metal Gear Solid 3. So there is stuff even starting it over again where I was like, I feel ashamed as a Metal Gear fan where I'm like, wait, that's right. how does Fox become Foxhound again? Like, just like those big lore details that I was like, oh God, I'm embarrassed that I've forgotten some of this stuff. Or I forgot that like the first conversation you have with the boss in this game, which immediately is like, oh God, I forgot how cool the boss is. But then I forgot like how dopey it is in such a delightful way where Naked Snake, where he's like, oh, it's been 5 years, 72 days, and 18 hours since the last time we talked. It's like, this is a rom-com? It's so bizarre. But then they just immediately dive in like, hello, former mentor, hello. And they just immediately talk about politics and war and what changes with the times and what doesn't. It's just like, is so delightfully blowhardy that I forgot that it's like, oh, that's just the first conversation they have before they even meet each other in the jungle, you know? It's just unbelievably... you understand, I think, the critiques a little bit about the Metal Gear Solid series going back to it, where it's like, oh, it is some blowhardy codec conversations, but if you got a taste for that in your blood because you love this stuff as a kid, it's so satisfying.
No, absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of talking in that game.
Yeah,
yeah.
So overall, going back to it, you enjoyed it more or less than you thought?
Oh, it was on par. You know, I wasn't like blown away. I wasn't underwhelmed. I was like, it's what I expected. I'm just happy to have a sort of an easy way to revisit them. And I'm also glad that I have a save now with Metal Gear Solid 3 that's like 4 or 5 hours in. Like I was doing the first proper Otacon fight, over the ravine. And it'll be nice. It's like if I ever want to play Metal Gear Solid 3, I don't have to go through the beginning necessarily. Right.
Yeah, it is. Konami's certainly messaging like, hey, Metal Gear's back, baby. Here we go. It's I think with the...
Don't you trust us?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think to some extent it's going to be backed. I think there's good folks over there trying.
I wonder if there's an instance in the future where Kojima would be sort of back in the fold of Metal Gear. Like I would never expect Kojima to make another Metal Gear Solid game. But I wonder if like he would, over the course of time and executive changes of leadership at Konami, if like he would be like, yeah, I actually touched this one and came in as a consultant and like looked over. You know what I mean? I was available to answer emails. I
think like the way some of the former Blizzard and WoW talent, they've like come back for creative consultant roles, or I guess Mark Dara, the producer for Dragon Age, he went back to BioWare as like, look, I'll just kind of shepherd this thing, but I'm not actually an employee again. Maybe, but then again, I just don't think Konami... Who would be pushing for that within Konami? And Kojima's busy, you know, it's like, I'm sure it'd be a emotional nightmare for him. So I don't think so. But
I mean, if you're a young executive at Konami who's put in a position of power suddenly, I mean, that would be my first thing that I would try to do, is like try to figure out some way to at least sort of get that relationship back in a position of, but you know, I'm just talking about hypotheticals that who knows that they could ever even happen. Yeah, Kojima might be done with Metal Gear. Like he's too, in the same way, like, you know, a director like makes a film and doesn't want to see the sequel because it just hurts too much. It's like, I can't. That's my franchise that they took away from me. I can't look at it anymore. I would totally understand that reaction.
I think he should be done with Metal Gear. As much as I love the series, you know, it's like it's good to move on. It's okay. Sure. But I mean, in terms of like, you know, new people at Konami attempting to do new things, like I thought it was interesting that there's that teaser trailer of that David Hayter show called Metal Gear Legacy. I'm still a little bit confused about this, but it's like a trailer for, it looks like a whole series where David Hayter is going to be running through the best moments of Metal Gear history. So it's just, I mean, it's one of those things like, yeah, that sounds good on paper. Sure, we should bring David Hayter back. That's kind of a cool thing for fans, but it's like, how interesting could that show be? I'm really curious to see. I mean, if they go all in, that sounds great. But if it's David Hayter basically being Tosh 2.0 for check out the B guy, it's like, I don't know.
Jokes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he has a fundamental understanding of Metal Gear and has longer than any of us, frankly. Like you know what I mean? Like I think he truly has a love and appreciation understanding of that franchise, but as opposed to just being a hired actor. You know what I mean?
Like there's
a little bit of a difference there. But
we'll see.
Yeah, who knows? Hey, Konami. Let's keep the Konami train rolling. Silent Hill Ascension.
One good decision to another.
Speaking of legacy,
did anyone like actually play, quote unquote, play this game? I talked to Genvid briefly on Monday of this week, and they kind of gave me a little presentation of what Ascension was going to be, and that, so that's my familiarity.
So you could have stopped them.
I maybe I should have.
I think I played it.
I think I played
So it's like an app that you download, and it's like it plays a little video, and then you can interact with it, and there's little mini games and stuff in there, and there's chat on the side. But I jumped into it, and
game, right, there was a rhythm game in there.
Yeah,
just like classic Silent Hill music.
It kept like kind of crashing, not the app crashing, but kind of like the video player would just stop. And so I was trying to watch like Kind of Funny's pre-show, and then I tuned in for a little bit during the actual sequence itself. It's basically Silent Hill Ascension meets HQ, the trivia game, is the easy explanation, where it's like a daily event. They want everybody to jump in there and unpack everything.
An idea we all had, frankly, to be clear. They're just the ones that executed.
They were first, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy they're trying something. It's like, I don't want to poo-poo people for one of these things, because I think those ingredients make sense of like, hey, let's have some interactive, long-form narrative in little bite-sized pockets. Let people jump in there, get a battle pass for this story. They can influence decisions. It's all Silent Hill canon. Like, it makes sense that a company like GenVid, they raised $113 million for this overall push, working with several IPs, and Silent Hills is the first one they're getting out of the gate with. And they have like former Netflix talent there and stuff. And so,
and Telltale as well.
Right. So it's one of those things where those ingredients make sense, but then you look at it, it's just like, no one's going to be into this. What are we doing here?
I mean, go ahead, Jacob, please.
Oh, I think it's exciting that we're alive during the birth of like the new worst way that you could tell a story. I think it's like, you want to appreciate things as they happen historically.
Yes.
Ben, I disagree with you slightly in that, like, I cannot imagine why this would have looked good on paper at any point. It's just like, for hedge fund weirdos looking to invest something, you say Netflix talent, sure. So
interactive
people
story,
who fundamentally don't understand video games or art making a decision about how to tell a story.
Put yourself in their minds more, Jacob. Come on, man. It's called empathy.
I think about them.
They're valid.
What I will say is the most interesting thing going on here is that so the first night was like 30 minutes, but they're actually going to be like 5 to 7 minutes a night. They say that it is going to run for 8 months. I would like to make a prediction that it will last for 30 days. That's how long I think they'll keep going on. But last night, the second night, after the show, for 25 minutes, the director of this game and like someone from PR came out afterwards and basically talked about how we weren't getting it and how they were going to like fix it. Ben, you should really watch this. I saw someone on Reddit said that it is the most compelling part because it feels like they are living in their own Silent Hill, where he was talking about. So it's like the first night, chat was out of control. It seemed completely unmoderated. The second night, they turned off chat completely. They said, hey, actually, chat was moderated, but it was moderated by AI, so things were not going well. 2, he said they had a team of moderators in every language, but since they had to go through all of the messages were popping up like 10 minutes after they were posted, which you might think during a live presentation, what's the point? But people could keep sending their stickers onto the screen because when you're watching a cutscene about like a guy who killed his wife, what you really want is just like stickers being thrown on top saying it's trauma, which is one of the stickers that you can get with the season pass.
It's trauma.
I saw that one getting shared around. Yeah.
One of the big parts of the gameplay is you can vote on what happens. And one of the big pieces of criticism for the voting is that you get more points. Like you can get points by buying them. So you can like buy. Yes, you can
influence points. Yeah.
Lobbying influence points. And so people are being like, kind of saying, what is the point of this? It just seems like people who are rich can buy all the decisions of the show. And the guy got out there and said, no, that's not the case. these decisions have millions of points behind them. So even if you tried to buy them, you couldn't buy enough to influence them, which seems like it is also confirming that no one's vote matters at all. Like, why would you vote even a little bit? All of the decisions take like 4 days to matter in game because they have to like make the next thing. Like I don't know how this development works. It kind of feels like what they're communicating is they're like Grommet on the train, like laying down the track in front of them, where it's like, you know, it's like Until Dawn if the developers had to like make the next cutscene after you decided something. And so nothing actually happens based on like what you're deciding in the game during that game. You have to wait days to see how it affects the story.
They told me they're 4 weeks ahead is how they described it. So they've made every cutscene for like the next 4 weeks, you know, and this one, maybe you'll never see this one, you know, because this one got voted. And then but I mean, that doesn't really answer your question, but but
it's still like,
that I want to share.
You know, in a Telltale game, when you choose to save someone, you then want to watch the other person die. And in this, choosing to save someone, you have to tune in, you know, half a week later to see what happens to the other person. I don't know. It feels like if this is the future of video games, I'll just stop playing them, you know, and I don't think it is because I think this is going to be such a failure. But like, it is one of the worst conceived things that I could think of for doing with this series.
Well, my reaction to it was of somewhat horror seeing it. Like the thing that scared me was like the on-screen icons and like chat and stuff. And my thought was like, I would be interested in this if it was something like Until Dawn. Like if it was slasher fiction where it's like you love and hate certain characters. Everyone like optimistically, right? Like this big giant group is watching something and they're rooting for their favorite characters. It's like that seems. I kind of like that idea for something like the equivalent of going to like a midnight showing of your favorite like slasher movie. But like my reaction was just like, Silent Hill is like not the choice for this. Like that is just not the IP or franchise to have people sort of throwing emojis on the screen and voting for their favorite characters. It's like that's just fundamentally not what Silent Hill has ever been about. Was sort of my initial reaction.
On the plus side, it doesn't feel like a good story that they're wasting with this format. You know, it's like the actual events happening on screen are also uninteresting. But it's
good.
I don't know.
There we go. You know,
friend of the show, Mike Drucker, tweeted. It's like it is literally. It's a worse Quibi. Like it's Quibi, but there is also a Twitch UI put over the whole thing.
Oh my!
To be fair, I would read weekly essays from Mike Drucker about Silent Hill Ascension if he wants to.
Deepest dive on Silent Hill Ascension from Mike Drucker. It is such an anomaly in the game industry. It'll be something 5 years from now. We'll say, "Do you remember Silent Hill Ascension?" Like it is.
No, they'll say no.
Right, but it's like, but you could make a good video essay unpacking the history of this thing because it is such a funky, weird experiment that I love the industry for trying, even if I'm horrified by it. And like, so the head of GenVid, that Jacob Novak guy, I assume he's the guy who came up on stage afterwards. Yeah. Okay, yeah. A bit of a blowhard, with all due respect.
Oh.
Okay, sorry. But no,
don't believe it.
I interviewed him, and he didn't strike me as too much of a blowhard or something back in the day. But I interviewed him because he was also at Square Enix when he was heading up their cloud streaming initiative. And do you remember what that was called, Jacob?
Cloud strifing? Close.
Shinra. They started up their cloud gaming unit and they called it Shinra. It's like the evil corporation.
That's the right reaction, Leo.
It's really confusing.
And also, Bethesda also did one. Why? These companies have no business doing this.
Oh, it was such a wild success that he got the chance to take on this $100 million project.
Right. So that didn't exactly.
Some kind of tax fraud.
Yeah. So that didn't work out. But it was weird because it was in like the development studio where they're making Just Cause 3. There was like a little side office, and that was the Shinra headquarters. I was like, oh, okay, for a temporary moment in time. But Silent Hill Ascension, maybe people are really into it. Jacob, who can say? Who can say?
I can say they're not. No one is into this.
I'm so interested hearing that they have a bunch of other franchises lined up. I'm curious to see those pull out one by one.
Yeah.
A real Stadia.
I was thinking yesterday, about you cynical types, Jacob. I was thinking, the name Stadia? I think that's top tier name. Look, I know we all laugh at the product.
Really?
I still think that's a good name for that device. It's cute. It's pleasant. It's kind of clever for a plural of stadium, like a big crowd. I stand by the name Stadia, and I'll stand by it to the grave.
It's like, I remember Stadia. I don't even know what the current generation of Xboxes are actually called. Like, I get it wrong every time I try to say it.
Well, there we go.
It is better than that.
Take the name Stadia, Xbox.
I think Stadia also, if they got behind it more, it could have been a thing. It was the one chance my dad had to play Red Dead Redemption 2. And if he did it, who knows where we'd be right now?
God, can you imagine? And Jeffem was waiting for the Stadia version of Red Dead 2, but he's waiting for Stadia to catch on before he finally jumped back in.
Right.
Started from the beginning. Ben, you played Quest 3 recently.
Hello.
Right?
Let's take a lovely detour into VR land. Thanks to the folks at Meta. They shipped out a MetaQuest 3.
I want one too.
Okay. Well, Lee, honestly, it's MinnMax's, so at any point, if you want to pick it up, it's all yours, dude.
I want my own.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Meta, you heard the terms.
Meta.
I think I took the bait. I don't know what I was thinking, Kyle. Like, I have a fine time with VR every time I play it, but I think it's just the problem of hearing other people describe their experiences in VR. It's like, that sounds awesome. And yeah, I'm with you, Kyle. MetaQuest 3 is the best way to play VR, but then I still play it and it's like, it's still just not that good.
Well, yeah, when you said I've heard other people talk, I was like, I thought I came in pretty cool on Quest.
Yeah, you know what?
I suppose you do listen to other people. I should.
I was on the Friends Per Second podcast, and Skillup over there was saying it was the second coming of Christ. And so then, I put it on. It's still like, okay, it's still always going to be a little bit blurry for me. And having the pass-through cameras is great. But then it's like, okay, there's still clearly weird, distorted pass-through cameras with a bunch of grain and stuff on it. It's not like it's not like you're watching the commercial for the Apple Vision Pro or something, where it's like, I'm in my room still. It's like, no, come on.
So how many dishes did you clean?
I went through. Yeah, I had to go dirty more dishes. I just squirted Hershey's syrup on them just so I could keep cleaning them and watching YouTube. No, it was fun. This is simple VR stuff, but it did make me laugh that going into YouTube VR, you can just basically make a theater-sized screen, however big you want, really, of YouTube. It's like putting on the MinnMax show and having Jeffem's face the size of Oppenheimer at the IMAX. It's like, that's actually pretty funny. That's a fun thing.
And it sticks in the space?
That I didn't. Kyle, have you done that? I don't know how to do that. I was trying to figure it out.
Sticks in the space.
How to take YouTube and pin
itself to the wall or something so you can move and it's still there, or is it all bound to?
I heard you can do that, but I couldn't figure out YouTube VR, the separate app. I couldn't figure out how to put that in the space.
Too much. I know the menus, the Oculus, or I'm sorry.
Yeah, the menus. Yeah.
Apologies. The Meta menus kind of will stay in position while you move your head around and stuff.
Right, and that's pretty cool. But I downloaded a bunch of games. Beat Saber is still good. All that stuff. Seventh Guest VR. It is fun seeing the live action people. I enjoyed that a little bit. And it has a thing where you have a lantern that puts the mansion back in time. So wherever you shine the light, it goes back in time. So the floor is really clean where you shine the light, which is satisfying. Or there's a table of old decrepit food. Think of Resident Evil 7, Then you shine the flashlight on it, a little lantern. It's showing it in its pristine state. And having live action actors as ghosts is cool, and live action actors that you could walk around.
I played an hour or two of Seventh Guest, and I was like, this is cool. This is the right way to do Seventh Guest. This is a smart idea.
Yeah.
I heard you talk about on the Fire Escape podcast about the piano keys. Getting to a piano and having Guitar Hero style notes come down. Have you tried that yet?
That is the reason I want this thing is Piano Vision. I downloaded the app and I have not got a piano yet. So I was looking online.
That's a crucial part of it.
It's a small part of a piano. Yeah. I was looking around online And I, Facebook Marketplace, a couple of people bailed on me level of getting that keyboard so I can play PianoVision with the MetaQuest. But I just bought one off Amazon. And so I have a piano coming to my house, a little keyboard for PianoVision 3. This is my main mission now. This is the quest for PianoVision because it sounds so cool. And Leo, please take it off my hands after a month of me using this and failing to be good.
No, Meta has to send me my own if they want me to use it.
And a piano.
Yeah,
full scale
grand piano.
A grand piano. Come on, Meta. So that's it.
And make it fit through my door too.
Like you can go on Craigslist. You can find people trying to part with a piano for free.
Yeah, people actually give away pianos all the time. You just have to transport them.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Well, now they shouldn't be giving them away. We should just be giving them a MetaQuest 3, and they'll be like, well, now my piano rules. I should keep this forever.
Now it's a video game.
Now it's a video game. So yeah, I am so excited for that. Look, I'm hyping myself up too much for this PianoVision thing of having the Guitar Hero style notes coming down on a real life piano, but in my mind, this is going to be my game of the year, so it cannot let me down. I just need PianoVision to be as good as I imagine it.
Yeah. I'll try to play some too. Maybe we can talk about it. When's your piano coming? A couple days
it's coming on Saturday.
All right, maybe
That's why we had to cancel the charity stream because I needed to learn to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star through MetaQuest 3.
All right.
Imagine going to a restaurant and the dude playing piano there just has a question.
It's actually the only way I can play. I'm sorry.
That's amazing. Oh, that's so funny.
Like the guy at the airport trying to get people to give little tips, but he's just listening to MetaQuest 3 helping on.
Playing the Mario theme super on easy mode.
Hey, Ben, have you ever been asked this question? I know I'm not trying to ask you too many questions, but you know how this whole thing operates?
I do, Kyle. It is Patreon, baby. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. And also, Kyle, the funny thing, it also operates by me refilling my coffee while you do this ad for I Am 8-Bit, our dear friends.
I'm not ready for this.
Oh, you can.
Your notes
I gave it to you.
He needs his throat healing coffee.
Yeah. I put honey in it. All right, Kyle, take it away. I Am 8-Bit, everybody.
I Am 8-Bit, a friend of the show. You guys know I Am 8-Bit. Ben's notes are a little scant. They're written for him. He knows what he's doing with these.
Read them direct. Let's see how Hanson does it.
Kyle, it's a store online.
It's a store on the internet, and they sell really cool stuff. And of course, every week we give an award to the question of the week, and the folks at I Am 8-Bit send them a lovely prize, which we're always excited to do. And this week, I believe they are sending out see, I don't know about these notes, you guys. I'm gonna roll the dice here. I think they're sending Ben, you can just nod. Are they sending the Oxenfree soundtrack to the question of the week?
Yes.
And the other thing? Okay. If you win question of the week, you get the Oxenfree reissue 2X LP. But the thing that we're promoting this week from I Am 8-Bit is they have the A Little to the Left vinyl soundtrack. That's available on the store now. And Ben, how much discount do you get with this code?
Well, I'd argue that
with your hands.
Yeah, do it.
How many fingers?
It's 250%. Oh my God. They give you money if you use this code.
10% off everything under $100 at I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, everybody.
Right, and the code this month is Gobble Till You Wobble. All one word. Gobble Till You Wobble.
Oh my God.
Oh my. I nailed it, Ben. You're going to go back and listen to this and be like, man, maybe Kyle should read the ads every week.
God damn. Thank you, I Am 8-Bit. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
You want to hear some disturbing news?
Can your throat handle it?
Yeah. I did a poll on Twitter and Instagram for that panda versus red panda debate on the podcast last week.
Yeah, of course.
Red panda, people said the red panda was cuter. 65.2% of people. Only 25% of people said that a regular panda is cuter.
They're right. Red panda wins.
I think this is recency bias. I think red panda over the last 10 years has been gaining steam, and everyone's tired of a regular panda. There's a reason.
You're using a decade of time as recency bias.
Yes, I am.
I think pandas are cuter than most animals, but you put these two together, it's like One or two? What number's higher?
Okay, here's my question. Why do you think panda is like childhood staple level animal and red panda isn't?
We learn about new animals all the time.
They're not new. It's just culturally hip.
Pandas happened to be popular when I was young.
Yes.
Right now, it's axolotls. That's going to be my kids' generation. Is axolotls are the cutest thing. They don't care about pandas.
It's all PR.
Things change.
You are being manipulated.
The big axolotl lobby.
Axolotl lobby. That's the discount code this week. Axolotl lobby.
Is it Minecraft? Is that why people like axolotls or whatever? Huh?
No, they added them recently to Minecraft, and it was a big, exciting deal in our household. I
like
know.
Webblecop because of Minecraft.
Oh, I see. Speaking of which, we're going to be covering RoboCop next week on the podcast with Jeff. Just so you're full thing. Hey, Kyle, can we get to these community questions?
Yeah, I'm reading them this week. Let's see. Parmetheus asks, do you ever find yourself using slang ironically, but then you use it so much that you're basically using it unironically now? I do it way too much, e.g. YOLO, see lit, etc.
I'm not too proud to say it. I had a real moment where I said let's go a lot.
Yeah.
I know that started ironically, but then it became a very natural expletive. And there are clips from a few years ago where it was really busting out some genuine let's goes.
Is this like in Rainbow Six or something?
Yeah. Let's go. A lot of that type of.
Yeah, it's really, it makes my, I don't know, skin crawl when I hear like my nephews say stuff like that. It's like, well, that's just stupid. That's just stuff a 6 and 7 year old would say at this point, but like hearing them drive let's go into the ground has now made it, other than for the ending of this episode, other than that, it's made it just kind of, it bugs me now. We're at a point where it's like, all right, there's other things to say when an exciting thing happens, everybody, such as wowie zowie and golly gee, look at it go.
When's wowie zowie going to catch up? Mine in high school was a word, like spelled W-E-R-D, like as just sort of an acknowledgement of somebody saying something. And you'd be like, oh yeah, word. And then it became a thing I actually said. I don't think I say it anymore, but it was in there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I now unfortunately say IRL in conversation, which I wish I didn't, but it's just like that's in there.
That's one of those things like it's giving blank, where it's just like, this is now the new easiest way to communicate this idea, so it's going to catch on.
Yeah. In real life, the same number of syllables? No, I couldn't do that. I have to say IRL.
By the way, Leo, are you standing on like small chains or something? What is making that sound?
Oh, do you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh no. I have a really creaky floor, so I don't do standing.
Oh wait, no,
it's stream, but I thought it didn't.
No, it's not creaky floor.
I thought you were going to say because I am standing on a pile of
Ben.
chains.
Do you hear it? Do you hear it now? Is that it?
It is that. What is that?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I've been fidget spinning.
Oh, damn it, Jacob. I thought it was
you got to get a quiet
standing
fidget spinner, Jacob. That's the trick.
So
Ben
or
won't
an
yell
invisible
at
one.
And by the way, I know this is playing into some Giant Bomb, not drama, but the wrestling slang stuff has got to stop. Everybody, we got to stop.
I don't know any of it, so I don't know what everyone's talking about.
It has become default at Giant Bomb to say shoot and work and all that crap. It's got to end. It's so annoying.
I had the pleasure of seeing Dan Reichert this weekend, and I was talking to him and catching up, and he used shoot. I don't know what that means. I don't.
Yeah, it's
like when you do something bad and say, "Oh shoot."
No, it's a shoot is for real, and a work is make believe. But it's like if I was really into, what's an obnoxious hobby? If I was really hentai, let's think it's more specific. If I was really into hentai and it had its own lingo, and then I went around and used that lingo at a party with people who wouldn't understand it, and on podcasts where thousands of people don't understand what the hell you're talking about, that's not a cool thing to do. It sucks. You're imposing your specific crap on everybody and confusing the world. Stop it.
It works for Scott Aukerman. Ben, I don't know how much you've been listening to Comedy Bang Bang lately, but the new bit is everyone accuses him of being really into hentai.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did see, it popped up on my phone the other day when we visited Remedy, Kyle. Apparently I drew a picture of you on their whiteboard and then you were wearing a t-shirt, and I drew on the t-shirt that was a t-shirt that said hentai. And I was like, maybe that's not an appropriate thing to put on Remedy's whiteboard.
And that made it into Alan Wake too.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's in the city. You can see it next to AWE.
With a question mark.
And Kyle got to it, and he said, yeah, 775, all right. Dock this sucker.
That's it. That's what brought it down.
Drag it down. No, but Kyle, I wanted to say, I've been listening to, their Adam Scott and Scott Aukerman's Bruce Springsteen podcast. And like, as somebody who used to love Comedy Bang Bang, and then I haven't listened to it in a big way in years, like just going back to the normal rotation of having Scott Aukerman and Adam Scott on that podcast, it is so freaking funny. The first hour of that show makes me laugh like no other podcast does, other than the Giant Bombcast, which is great. Other than the shoot and work references all the time. But like, oh my God, it's just so stupid. It's delightful.
They know what they're doing over there.
They know what
over
they're
at the
doing,
Comedy
man.
Bang Bang Emporium.
It is an emporium, yeah. Leo, so are we? Am I stupid for not getting into Hollywood Handbook? I think I listened to maybe one episode and was like, I don't know. Years
I
ago.
don't even recommend it to people that much because it is such a specific thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's people. Somebody described it most succinctly as two smart, nice guys pretending to be dumb, mean guys who are pretending to be smart, nice guys. So they're always kind of in light character like that. Yeah. And it was just the right moment. I listened to that Ben Stiller episode, watched the video, and the video is really important to me because you can see when they're breaking. It's the only podcast I listen to where they try not to laugh, but I always watch the video because I love to see when they can't hold back and when they lean away from the mic to laugh and stuff. And it was just a specific formula that I got sucked into, and it's like now one of those things that, oh yeah, this is going to be a definitive for my sense of humor, the way only one thing every like 5 years is.
Yep. That is a fun thing to try and chart, like the things that defined your comedic sensibilities that you can't break away from. It's like, I think like, Tim Turry definitely was a big influence on me at a certain point. My friend Jesse was a big influence on me. It's like, it is so easy just to chart like, oh, in this era, I was influenced by this comedically. Scott Aukerman, of course, that was a big influence. I feel like everybody in the 2010s and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mr. Show for me in a big way.
Yeah.
In general.
God, I think it was on that Bruce Springsteen podcast. They were talking about a Mr. Show sketch that they didn't make. I don't know if you heard of this one, Kyle. It's so stupid. And it's one of those things that would never work as a sketch, but it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Heckle. Or Mr. Jekyll, have you seen this?
We're done. We're in.
So Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Jekyll, the idea is Dr. Jekyll would drink the potion and then the doctorate behind him would fall off the wall. And then he'd suddenly be like, oh, I'm slightly dumber. But then it would wear off and the doctor would go back up.
That sounds like that's Mr. Show.
Okay.
That's like about the level there.
And how do we make that funny for 4 minutes? We don't know.
Yeah. Sam Worms, plural, asks, what are some of your nitpickiest gaming opinions? I'm playing Alan Wake Remaster, and it drives me bonkers that the camera defaults to being over his left shoulder.
Whoa.
That is weird.
In Alan Wake 2, when you zoom the map, it doesn't automatically zoom on your, like, where you are. And then you can move it. And so it's like, I'll pull up the map and be like, okay, where am I? And I hit the zoom button and it just goes to like a random corner of the map, which I find very frustrating.
It feels almost buggy to a certain degree.
No, because there's a separate button to push that's like find yourself on the map, but it's not the zoom button. And so I always hit the zoom first and mess it up.
There was some game recently where the circle button did not take me out of the map, and I had to hit the map button again. I don't remember.
Is it Starbound or Starfield?
Maybe it must have been Starfield.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think.
Yeah.
Which you just had to get the hang of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amador Lopez says, what's up, crew? Despite the wonderful season of games happening right now, I thought it was a good idea to take a detour and play some older games. I ended up playing the Klonoa collection and had a blast. What was the last gaming detour you took while avoiding what was coming out at that time? Was the detour worth it? And then it's after that's attributed to Tony Hawk. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Oh, that was me taking a note saying, "Oh, I got to ask
that's
about Tony
okay,
Hawk."
Okay. I thought it was Tony Hawk. Questions from Tony Hawk.
No, those are my own notes. Sorry, I sent them over to you. But
by the way, speaking of Klonoa, R.I.P. Matthew Perry, the world's biggest Klonoa fan. I don't know if you guys know that about him.
Well, I remember you brought that up when we brought up the Klonoa remaster.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the context of the tweet, but he had a lovely tweet about Klonoa.
What are you talking about? What was the context of the tweet? You got to
Here's why you can't cancel me.
No, he said, I think the tweet is something along the lines of like, I'm playing the new Klonoa and I like it so much I'm playing it with my pants around my ankles or something like that.
Was he making a gaming ad for a magazine in 1996?
No, this is just his
or a gaming
personal-
review.
That's just the kind of thing that everyone tweeted in 2011. You go back and like see what celebrities were tweeting, you know, pre-2013, and it's just the most incredible stuff.
Yeah, the tweet. I found the tweet from 2009. Many of you have asked what Klonoa game I'm playing. It's the new one on the Wii. I'm at level 6. I play with my pants around my ankles. And then the first reply is a lovely picture of Matthew Perry, and it says, "Rest in peace."
Wow.
Well, that's a strange legacy. But I liked Amador here. I love that idea of going back and playing the Klonoa collection because it freaking rules. And I'm jealous of Leo every once in a while when I just get the sense that you are going on these wild detours, like in the busiest release schedule all year. You're like, I'm going to play every Tony Hawk instead.
That is something that I do all the time because I really lately, the last year or two, have tried to really prioritize, like, if I have a gut feeling that I want to play this game, follow that. And it's been really rewarding, even when it's, and same with like watching movies. It's like, nobody's really recommended this to me, but I have a feeling it kind of might be my thing, and trusting that. And I don't know if it's like a self-destructive tendency to like getting overwhelmed by all the good games coming out that I could have an opinion about and could talk about, that I want to dive into Fallout 76 again instead or whatever.
Healthy.
Yeah, it works for me for sure. But that is like all I do. I got back into Rocket League recently for no reason. Hunt Showdown earlier this year was one of those, I think. I love doing that.
Yeah, that's smart. It's smart, man.
Mine kind of doesn't count because it's for Something Rotten, my podcast. But playing Killer 7 and No More Heroes in the middle of the year this year was really fun. I had never played either of those games. Killer 7 is so cool. Everyone said it for 20 years, but they were all right. And it's so cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm a failure on this front. I mean, the last time I did it, I think was probably Tomato Adventure, playing through an RPG. Was it last year, I think? But Leo, I mean, in terms of trusting your gut, when I think of like, what game do I want to play the most right now? There's a ton. Other than Star Ocean 2, the remake, it's like, I have been craving Guitar Hero 2 for so long. And I have a CRT sitting on a countertop in my basement. And it's like, I need to put those two together and just let her rip for a weekend. So you've inspired me, man.
Guaranteed fun time. You know, you'll be glad you did that.
Oh.
It also comes up for me a lot in like Switch sales, like replaying old games that I happen to get on Switch. Like Assassin's Creed Rogue was a really random one that was like one of my favorite games I played that year. And getting back into Griftlands on Switch recently.
Oh, nice.
Another random old one that I liked at the time was like, oh, this will fit good on Switch. That's like where those experiences live a lot of times for me, the ones I randomly go back to.
Okay, what about this, Leo? What about this for a vision of the future? It's like the ending of Raising Arizona. Let's envision this beautiful future together, Leo. Guitar Hero 2, playing on a CRT, jamming out. Kyle, what's the best song in Guitar Hero 2?
Message in a Bottle.
Message in a Bottle. Guitar Hero 2. Meanwhile, piano, keyboard, next to it, somebody else playing the MetaQuest 3, but you time it so that the piano vision starts and the song starts the second Guitar Hero 2 starts, so you can have a duet in VR and in Guitar Hero 2 of Message in a Bottle. Imagine that future together.
That's amazing. Also though, they have like those songs carry over to other. No, never mind. I was thinking you could play Rock Band 3, which has a keyboard in it. And I was thinking the best song for Guitar Hero 2 is Let's Talk More Rock.
Right.
We did play last time we played Rock Band.
It did rule.
It did rule. Did we play that multiple times, or did I just want to?
I think you wanted to. Yeah, you just played it in the car on the way home, I think was the idea.
It's the most fun guitar lick ever in that franchise.
Oh, it's so fun.
And still I dreamed on. Sorry, I needed to finish the Raising Arizona.
Thank you, Jacob. God, I think it was even before I had my kid. Maybe it was after, when I got even more emotional somehow, but just rewatched that sequence and just bawled my eyes out like, oh, that movie's the best. Sorry.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while. I need to rewatch
Oh, God, Kyle. Oh, God, do it.
Do it. Catherine Gilbert asks, what was your Halloween costume?
Kyle, you have to take this, man, because I feel like you went above and beyond, and I was too sick.
Yeah, I dressed as Chainsaw Man which was like I bought like a Chainsaw Man hat, but then the rest of Chainsaw Man is he just wears like a tie with and a shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and then he has a little pull. What do they call the chainsaw pulls? You pull the thing.
Ripcord.
He has like a ripcord in his chest that he pulls to become Chainsaw Man. And then my wife wore a Puchita hoodie, which will make sense to people who have read or watched Chainsaw Man.
That's cool. Did you get compliments on it?
I got a surprising amount of people knowing what it was. I really didn't think people would know it. And then when I was trick-or-treating Tuesday night, there was like a kid who looked like 9 who was like, "Hey, Chainsaw Man." And I was like, from across the street, I was like, "How do you know Chainsaw Man?" Because it is a very hyper-violent anime. And their dad just kind of grabbed them by the shoulder and was like, "Come on, let's go, let's go." And I was like, I was genuinely curious how he knows Chainsaw Man.
Hey, what happened to Leo?
Oh my gosh.
I just got my Hitman Flamingo costume this year, so I used that, and I had it right next to me, so I've now put it on.
That's nice.
But it normally isn't around my big ass headphone.
And it's nice that it doesn't cover your mouth or interrupt.
I had a couple. We went to a Halloween party that was, quote, vaguely Nicole Kidman themed. And so I thought, what's a vaguely Nicole Kidman outfit? And so I dressed as not just any penguin, but Norma Jean from Happy Feet, as voiced by Nicole Kidman.
That is so obscure stuff.
Who is this genius that has that for a theme? Vaguely Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, and there were a lot. My girlfriend was Nicole Kidman from Practical Magic, and there were a couple other Practical Magic Nicole Kidmans there. Some Eyes Wide Shut ones. She's done a lot of things.
No, but who is this genius friend of yours that had that idea for a theme?
I just a friend who had a good idea for a party. I don't know. I think the friend was originally going to be the AMC Nicole Kidman, but then that's a really hard costume to pull together because you basically just need to buy those things. But then our second Halloween night, we were Kevin Costner and Susan Sarandon from Bull Durham.
Hell yeah.
Which was fun because that movie rocks. And also we're in Durham and go to Durham Bulls games all the time.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Did people get your Bull Durham reference?
Yeah. When we showed them the movie poster and said, "See, we look like them."
Speaking of baseball movies, have you ever seen The Natural, Jacob Geller?
No, that's actually, we've watched Bull Durham and Moneyball over the past week, and I was like, we got to put more baseball movies on the list. I haven't seen The Natural.
Truly the best. Yeah, it's in baseball movies, are the best. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch The Natural as well. We can do a max spoilers on The Natural if you want, but I just watched Diner for the first time like a couple weeks ago. Barry Levinson's first film, and like Diner blew me away. It was like one of those movies like, damn it, I should have watched this a long time ago. It's up there in terms of like comedies where it just feels like everyone's so natural, which is then bizarre because then the follow-up film was The Natural, and I know The Simpsons parodied it, so it must be good. So I got to check it out at some point.
So it must be good. Zay says, "Hey cohorts, I'm playing through Metal Gear Solid 1 for the first time on my Nintendo Switch. It's a phenomenal game, a product of its time, most definitely, but it holds up in a lot of ways. I've been playing alongside a guide because there are a lot of things this game just doesn't tell you outright. Things like switching the controller for Psycho Mantis, looking at the back of the physical case for coded frequency, and having to backtrack for a sniper rifle are a few things I wouldn't have figured out. I had to have my wife play the torture sequence because I'm not fast enough at it. So is this game design a product of its time? Do the latter Metal Gear Solid games have weird mechanics? How did people figure this out years ago? With guides or something? And last, am I just an idiot? Anyway, genuinely, thanks for the podcast and all you do. I'm a huge fan. Have a great no-shave November, guys." I didn't realize we were committing to that.
Yep. I guess we're all
I did know about the controller Psycho Mantis thing before I started, but I did have the fun because I played it way late. I think I played 1 like around when 2 came out for the first time. And I did the copy that I borrowed from a friend. He did have the box. So nice. I did get to see the codec code on the back of the box. Like I really actually got to do that without having to like look it up online or anything, which was super fun.
Yeah, I'd imagine I looked it up online because it was confusing. Because I remember like looking at my inventory, like, is it on the game case? Is that an item somewhere in here? I don't even understand what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I know the a couple of years ago when they did the I'm pointing over here because I have one, but the PlayStation Mini, when Sony was trying to do what Nintendo did, and it included Metal Gear Solid on there. On the back of the box, every game has a nice screenshot of gameplay, but the Metal Gear Solid screenshot is the Merrill codec screenshot, which is like looks kind of weird if you don't know why that's back there. It's like that doesn't look particularly interesting. But then I suppose if you had played the game for the first time, it would make sense.
That's funny.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I was curious. I did look it up to see how they handle Psychomantis for the new collection and stuff. It's like, I guess you can just create you have the option of, in the menu apparently, building out your digital memory card, and you can basically turn on or turn off different Konami games so that Psychomantis can reference them as if he's reading your memory card, which feels kind of gross. Or like also in the menu, you can technically switch to controller port 2 as well. So it loses a lot of the magic, but they're trying their best to make it seem possible.
Yeah, impossible to replicate.
No.
I miss that era kind of. I miss that moment. That sounds so cool the way I've heard people talk about it over the years. I think part of it might also be that people were used to getting stuck on random weird stuff for hours at a time back then, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit of the equation.
Yeah.
I do think the sequels don't go so hard in the weirdness, like playing with the hardware and stuff like that. If I remember,
Or it's like they have weird things, but they're optional. You know, it's not required for finishing the game. It's like, hey, did you know if you go back and do this thing happens?
Yeah.
yeah.
This just reminded me of y'all remember the Phantom Hourglass puzzle where you had to close the DS?
Yeah.
The most confusing puzzle ever put in a game.
I don't know about that. It's being the most confusing. I quite liked it, and
it's just one of those things where it's like you didn't even know that was in your possibility space of puzzle solutions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did y'all solve that by yourself, or do you remember looking it up? Or did you eventually do it?
No, I did it. Yeah.
And it's one of those puzzles that felt cool or felt, oh, that's stupid.
No, I loved it. I love that kind of stuff. Anything that plays with the hardware outside of the context of the game in an interesting way, I'm always into. I like that kind of stuff. I think there was another DS game that might have done it too, like Lost Memory or something like that. So it wasn't totally outside of the realm of reasonable things to do with that handheld to me. But yeah,
Super handheld closers did it.
That's right. Yeah. You also had to blow on the mic to blow out candles in that game, which
Oh, you do Kyle in Duck Amuck on DS. You had to close the DS, and then Daffy's like, "Hey, who turned out the lights?" And then you had to like guide him. I think using LNR. That game rules. Duck Amuck on DS, truly one of the best. But one of the best games of all time.
Let's see. Question for Leo from Preston Dieterman. Question for Leo. I finally finished watching the entire 10-hour travel log from Summer Game Fest. Better late than never. And I didn't realize it was ending with a cliffhanger. Did you get your McDonald's? Did Sarah get it? I didn't think I would have more questions. I didn't think I would have more questions after finishing the travel log.
Gosh, I think I did ask Sarah, but I forgot if she got hers. I did get mine. Fewer McDonald's than ever around here are open 24 hours or even late, so we had to go to one that wasn't our usual one, but I did get it. We did get it like 10 minutes before close. Thank you so much. Thanks for your questions.
There you go. Starkiller asks, hey, MinnMaxers, what do you think is the biggest butterfly effect any of your content has had on the games industry? For instance, Ben, do you think the rapid-fire No Man's Sky interview had a direct impact on decisions made during Starfield's development? Thanks.
I cannot imagine. That would be awesome if Todd Howard called me up and he's like, what really impacted the design of Starfield was that rapid fire for No Man's Sky. No.
But to take that, it's like not that you deserve any blame for it, but a lot of the anger at early No Man's Sky was related to things that he said in those like GI interviews.
Sure.
And so it does seem like maybe they were like, we got to walk back our promises because look at how people responded to this.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty labyrinthian butterfly, but
hey, that's how the butterfly effect works, baby.
That's
the
right.
Butterfly doesn't just flap its wings and instantly makes a hurricane.
Hit a button that starts a hurricane.
He uses his wing to press a button. I guess, maybe.
Every time I see a big wheel reference in the Spider-Man games, Leo, I think of us. Well, I don't remember the context. We were like,
what villains are going to be in the game?
What villains are going to be in the game? And you don't have to confirm or deny. You can Glomar response it, but like give us your reaction. And we threw Big Wheel in there as like trying to come up with the most ridiculous, villain that would not be in a Spider-Man game. But then there's like when you're at the amusement park in Spider-Man 2, it says like Big Wheel and stuff like that. I like to think that we contributed to that.
You reminded them of this Spider-Man villain.
Oh yeah, Big Wheel.
I want to take this opportunity to finally credit my friend Samir, who I broke 1,000 NDAs by asking my friends for rapid fire questions for that one. And he gave me, did your swinging lifestyle influence the development of the game at all?
That's excellent.
That's fantastic.
I love this question though about the butterfly effect. I don't really know. I hope somebody else does know. If there's ever been an Easter egg based on something we've done.
It's hard for me to I absolutely have no confirmation on this, but I made that video about the Shadow of the Colossus last big secret, which had like the giant blue point mystery that they put in Shadow of the Colossus remake, and there was another one of those in Demon Souls. So, hey, maybe that's just like a blue point thing that they do. But I do think that I was probably the reason that the blue point Shadow of the Colossus mystery got as many like eyes on it as it did. And so maybe they were like, people like this. We should do it again.
I do feel like it's a classic games press faux pas to think that you're more important than you are. And it's always the idea of like, I brought up this question. And I'm not just citing you, Kyle, because you just brought it up. But it's like, we brought up this question. That's why they included it in the game. It's like, man, they're living with this thing for. I know. I'm not pointing at you. I'm just saying in general. I hear it come up all the time. Or everybody thinks, I don't know. Like I remember I was at this preview event not too long ago. I won't be specific. And there is just this cocky weirdo. I remember the press, and they were like they were talking to the translator after the fact, and they're like, I bet no one asked the question that I asked during that Q&A. Translator's like, yeah, everyone asked that question. Like, it's like question 101 about this game. But it's like, everyone thinks they're so freaking smart and special.
Is the combat visceral?
It was that level, yeah.
What's your title and how do you spell your name?
On that front, in terms of smelling your own farts, I've brought it up before, but I guess maybe a small one is like, maybe, but I'm the one who put Two Player Productions in touch with Double Fine and Tim Schafer. I sent the email address over. And again, the disclaimer is they would have gotten contact some other way. It's not like they wouldn't have happened, but they asked me for that contact info and I sent it over.
No, this is absolutely the answer.
Yeah.
This is the answer to this question.
Yeah. And so then that resulted in, I guess, a big gaming boom on Kickstarter with Broken Age, right? And so much stuff came out of that. And who knows if Microsoft would have been around or Microsoft would have purchased Double Fine.
Maybe Microsoft wouldn't have been around if I didn't put them in contact.
In this alternate world. But it's like that led to Double Fine living on, and then Microsoft purchased them, and the development of Psychonauts 2 and everything. So it's like there's probably some weird twisted world there, but who knows? But again,
I also get the sense that with the butterfly effect, I would be dead right now. So thank you.
Yeah, there'd still be dinosaurs around.
Yeah, dinosaurs would be Leo. All of the dinosaurs would live in his apartment.
Scary.
Yeah.
What do you think of Ben? I've taken things over this whole time, but what do we think of going ahead and moving on to question of the week?
Yeah, I love it, Kyle. It's an impossible ask that I've asked you to do, but you've done a great job. Thank you for filling in as host.
And where's the butt?
Oh, let's see. But Matthew Angeli wanted to say, "Hey, Song of the Deep is a really good Metroidvania from Insomniac, and people should talk about it more."
There we go.
Remember that game that GameStop published, Kyle? That Insomniac developed, the underwater Metroidvania?
Yeah, I never played it.
No one did. Anyways, let's see. Question of the week. What do you like, Leo?
Butterfly Effect one was interesting. I liked that one.
Okay.
Playing older games like Detour games. I thought that one was pretty fun too.
Yeah. I like Rich McLaughlin when he wrote in and says, "Is Kyle supposed to, and I quote, eat his own butt? I don't want that bet getting lost in the sea of great games." I don't remember what the bet was. I don't remember what the bet was either. Can someone remind us?
Please follow up and send us a timestamp or something. I remember discussing that, but I don't remember why.
I remember you talking a lot about eating your own butt, but it's typically just off mic.
Yeah, he is prepared to do it.
Right. There's no doubt.
I feel like it was Zelda related.
I feel like it was Zelda related too. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, should we go butterfly effect?
I like butterfly effect. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. It's my vote.
There you go, Star Killer. Who's hosting the podcast now? You got it. Question of the week. Congratulations. You won the prize from MyMapeit. Now it's time for something that we're going to call Get a Load of This. Ooh, Kyle, I guess you're going first, big dog.
Let's do it. I saw this article, which I'll link below. But basically, the thesis of it is scientists have identified remnants of a buried planet within the Earth. These remnants belong to Theia, Theia, the planet that collided with Earth 4.5 billion years ago that led to the formation of the moon.
A planet did that?
Yeah, which I just love. That is some like weird epic stuff happening billions of years ago that they found little pieces of the planet like on Earth. Is just such a cool, horrifying idea. I don't know. I just like thinking about it. And it also makes makes me feel small and insignificant in a way that I embrace.
Who gets to name this?
I'll link to that article.
They have a name, Theia, the planet.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they had a name for it. I want to be the scientist that gets to name the planet that collided with Earth. God damn.
We call it Hansonville. Hansonville collided with the Earth.
Got to do it, everybody.
Billions of years ago.
God, that's awesome. So hang on. How many moons for other planets are the result of a collision? It's just like they just get trapped in the orbits for like Jupiter and stuff, right?
That is genuinely something that is interesting about our moon, is that most moons are not.
Right.
So it's why Earth's moon is kind of like different than like, Jupiter having like 40 moons or whatever, is that those are not largely products of collisions.
But I wonder, are any of them? Because like Mars has Phobos, like that weird lumpy one and stuff, right? Like, but that just got caught in the orbit. That is really, hey guys, what's going on here? Because also you think about that, that's so weird, but then also combined with the fact that I don't think we talk about this enough, that the sun and the moon from Earth's vantage point are like the exact same size. That's so weird. What?
Yeah.
All right.
That's called the Hanson effect.
Is that right? The Hanson-thropic principle. Okay, sorry. Jacob, I guess it's yours?
Yeah, get a load of this. Well, so last night I saw the movie Spirited Away in theaters, which is, it turns out, an unimpeachable masterpiece. Better every time you see it. I'm not going to recommend Spirited Away because everyone's already seen that. But on HBO, there is currently a show called Scavenger's Reign, which is a very interesting show about people who kind of crash land on a planet from like on like a colony ship that goes bad or something. And it is kind of like, it's sort of Miyazaki-esque mixed with like, Annihilation, the movie. Like it's a movie where it's like, there's a show where it's just like a bunch of weird nature doing weird things. Like it's pretty quiet. There's not a lot of dialogue. And like a lot of what you're watching in the show is just like people interact with weird fungus colonies or something, and it's like it's really gross, and it's impressively good looking and seems like pretty high production value for a show that I really haven't seen any marketing of or whatever. It's just a really cool animated show that falls kind of outside either anime or like Cartoon Network adult animation. It's like a third interesting animted thing.
And what's the name of it again?
Yeah.
It's called Scavenger's Reign. I suppose it's on Max, not HBO.
I was almost, it was like on my list to potentially bring up as well, Jacob, for get a load of this. It is like the most abstract American animation I've seen like ever, but it all makes so much sense. It's like weird. Because like the way these plants work on this alien planet is so strange, but you watch it and you're like, oh, I understand what they're doing. This makes sense. It's very weird.
That sounds
great. kind of Nausicaa-y.
Yes,
it also it looks like, gosh, I can't remember the artist's name, but it looks like the game Sable. And Sable was really influenced by some artist who I can't remember, but it rules.
Yeah. Hey, get a load of this. You YouTube masters, Leo and Jacob, might know this, but Neil Smith, a mod in the MinnMax Discord, he pointed this out to me where in the deepest dive, I think in the deepest dive for Alan Wake 2, I was looking for like, I jumped in the Discord and I was like, hey, I forgot to grab the timestamp for this clip, but at some point we're talking about like the dust on a VCR, and Sarah very comedically was like, you guys are remedy pilled because you're obsessed with the dust on the VCR in this game. And so I was like, if anybody can give me a timestamp for that. And then Neil Smith was like, oh, just use the transcript and search for the word VCR. It's like, I guess I saw that somewhere at the bottom of YouTube videos, but it hadn't really locked in that it was a real option. But it's amazing, and maybe it's just amazing if you're trying to find a specific clip in a YouTube video. But if you just hit full description for a YouTube video, then at the bottom it says show transcript, and then you can just search for the words, and it'll give you the exact timestamp of when that shows up. So if there's a long YouTube video you're looking for a specific point, do that. Did everyone already know about this?
No, I guess I thought it was something in like the console Explorer or something too, but it's just a button available to everybody.
Yeah,
because I would have done that by, YouTube's auto-generated subtitles.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting that it's available to all.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's sweet. Okay, sorry. Leo's turn, I guess.
Hey, get a load of this. It's a clip from the final subreddit. There's a vault that, which is what you carry from objective to objective. It fell off the map. It's supposed to bounce back onto the map automatically, but it bugged out and it's stuck at the bottom of a pit. And so they use goo canisters and jump pads to make like a staircase down off the map to go pick it up. And they successfully bring it back, which is just example a billion of why I love systemic games that allow you to like... weird little problems become solvable in a way that they rarely are.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, get a load of this from the community. Forrest with 2 R's shared a tweet from Destiny Tracker saying the streamer Aztecross is reporting that Bungie had Escape from Tarkov streamers play Marathon, their new game that's inspired by Escape from Tarkov. Their new game that's a reboot of their old game. You get the idea. And they did not seem interested in the game. Bungie asked them if they would play Marathon if it released, quote, tomorrow, and no one raised their hand. Which, a very specific negative slice of a much larger thing, obviously, but then this is tying into the larger idea of, 100 people were laid off at Bungie recently, including Jay Guisao, who we worked with at Game Informer as an intern back in the day, then he was working as associate editor, but just a huge bummer. Yeah. And then with that, I think Jason Schreier was reporting that Marathon slipped to 2025. The final shape, Destiny expansion, is now 2024. And it's just rough times over there. And it's bizarre just as an industry that Sony bought Bungie to be the experts at live service games, and they want to bring them in. And they were consulting on the Last of Us multiplayer game. And it's reported that's why that game was kind of put on hold because Bungie was like, I don't think this loop is really here, guys. And then for Bungie's next big push with the Marathon reboot to have the early reports from at least the Tarkov community being like, this isn't it, guys. But I mean, that's the hardcore Tarkov community. So I'd imagine it's going to be pretty different for the rest of us,
Yeah. Take a lot for them to play a different game, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, but hearts go out to everybody laid off from Bungie. That's a rough one. That's a huge chunk.
For sure.
Hey, Kyle, I think that's it for this episode of the MinnMax Show.
You agree?
I did it. I did a great job sometimes.
You did. No, you did. You're too hard on yourself. It's just impossible. It's impossible for me to like sit back and not jump in.
Well, my hope is that I gave you somewhat of a break.
You saved me at least a day of vocal recovery. I guarantee that. So thank you for your service. And I hope you didn't take too much crap online for your Alan Wake 2 review.
I blocked a few people, but that's fine. Yeah, overall, it's okay.
Yeah,
I'll be all right, everybody.
Okay. I think also I was thinking about the game and I was thinking about your defense and I was like, this also it feels like the wrong game to play on a deadline. I think that would really color my. Not that I knew it was a self-imposed deadline for you, I know, but like I just think it would suck.
There's a little bit. I mean, I want to see what's going to happen next, like we talked about earlier. With Jacob. Like I was eager to keep rolling.
Yeah. All right. Hey, everybody. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for supporting MinnMax. Let's see. We have a new interview that went up this week with James Turner, who was the art director over at Game Freak, art director for Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's not every day you get to interview somebody without PR there talking about what it's like designing Pokemon and being a Game Freak. And he's a respectful bloke. And so he's not dishing tea left and right about Game Freak, but he talks about why he left after Pokemon Sword and Shield to start a new studio, and now he's making the Plucky Squire, which is the game where you're the little guy in the 2D picture book, then you jump out into the 3D world. Truly looks awesome. If you haven't seen the trailer for Plucky Squire, we've talked about it on the podcast before, but check it out. It's an Indie Game Come in 2024. So that interview is up now, available for everybody. Also, in the plug section, I wanted to give a shout out to the Franklin High School Video Game Club in Seattle.
Yo. Let's go!
Yeah. I said the Franklin High School Video Game Club in Seattle!
Yes!
Thank you for listening to the show, everybody. Let's see. Also, reminder, Deepest Dive for Alan Wake 2. It's confusing. This is why I was losing sleep.
Oh, yeah. Huh. I haven't thought about this story.
So we took a gap week for the Deepest Dive in Alan Wake 2 for the marathon charity stream, but because that got moved now because I'm sick, it's confusing. So basically, we're collecting your comments on Patreon Sunday, November 12th for the first 6 chapters of Saga and Alan's story in Alan Wake 2. That is the stopping point. So we're still going to be collecting that. So if you haven't jumped into Alan Wake 2 yet and you want to join that Deepest Dive, there's more of a gap than ever for you to jump in. So please do. And then we'll be back to finish off the week after that. And just a reminder that the charity stream is happening Saturday, December 12th. I'm sorry, December 2nd, everybody. Saturday, December 2nd is when the big marathon charity stream, Gift to the Max, is going to be happening. So thank you again for everybody's patience and sorry for zigging and zagging 10 Ways to Sunday. But all right, that's it for this episode of the podcast, everybody. Kyle, you want to close it out, dude?
Be good, have fun. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.